Hey guys, how's it going? It's Pick Me Up here, and I wanted to make a comprehensive tier list. I thought, had a thought that I was going to start using this channel to help newer players on Bounty Rush, because in all honesty, most of us veteran players already know what we're doing. Um, there's really no helping them and telling them what to do. We are all very keen to what our intentions are in this game, how to reset accounts, etc. But recently my brother started playing, and so I find myself doing a lot more like tutorial activity for him, and so I figured I'd extend that to the community for anyone else that's new to the game and is wondering what they're doing. Because while the game is simple, there is a lot to it, and you get overwhelmed with all of the information at once, and it doesn't do a fantastic job of guiding you through it. So today I figured I'd do a tier list for everyone getting these newer characters, and this is going to help you save your upgrade materials to invest in the correct characters, and also knowing what to do with the lesser characters that you get, and finding utility out of those as well, and then just knowing like who to invest in and who not to. So starting off the tier list, this was pre-built, so it has SSS, which I'm going to reserve for the best units in the game. SS is correlates with SS League, really, where these are the characters that you will find most usable in SS, in higher end gameplay, and who you will likely encounter most often. S is going to be very good characters that can compete in this league. However, their kits are not similar or as fully developed as these characters, and so they find themselves having a harder time fighting against the top tier characters, but still do very, very well if played correctly and typically beat out every other character below. A is going to be reserved for characters that have utility, are decent, in the right hands can do a good job, so they are playable in these leagues. However, you are definitely at a disadvantage, and will find yourself having a hard time. Um, and then these are your lower tiers. B is essentially not usable, has likely one gimmick that you want to play around, but they are just underdeveloped, outdated characters that can't do much, if anything. C tier is basically your run-of-the-mill average character. You will probably have a lot of these characters and will find yourself using them in very, very early stages of League Battle, Challenge Battle, just because the game is going to feed you these character fragments, so that these will probably be your like first level 100 characters, and you can find some utility out of them in the very early stages of the game. D is your dog shit characters. Not gonna be great. Um, Trying to think of who I would put in here, just off memory, but we'll see when we get there. And E is basically the same as F tier. Fodder has its own meaning. I put all of these characters in fodder before I started the list, because what I wanted to do was save time on the video, by not discussing every single one of these. But these are characters that are essentially just going to go for your support early stages until you can, get these characters to 100 to replace them with better stats. But you'll get these character fragments essentially with every single pull that you do. And so you'll find yourself getting these to level 100. These are worth leveling to 100, and boosting because they're very, very cheap in their upgrades. And if you can, get the color matches correct and get the support traits that you want in your support traits, like if you have 6 Luffys, you're guaranteed Straw Hat, Attacker, Captain, Paramecia, things like that. So they're good for your supports in the early stages until you can replace them with stronger variants of those characters. So that's why I put them all in their own tier. So these are like good, but you would never use these in any sort of league battle scenario unless you're Mimi. So let's get started. So first we have Bonnie. Um, Bonnie, I am going to place in D tier. Uh, D tier because Bonnie, while not great, has one gimmick, one utility that you could find yourself winning matches with, and that is her capability of turning into a child and then becoming untargetable for 10 seconds, I believe. And she has a support skill for her teammates as well, which elevates her a little bit above the bottom tier here. That said, it's not great. It's not the same as Miss Golden Week's because Miss Golden Week can uh, become untargetable while also capturing flags and interacting with bases, whereas Bonnie cannot do that or attack or anything, and so all she can do is stall for 10 seconds. That said, that stall can win a game if you manage to capture a flag since she is a runner, and you have a little bit of time left and you're about to get rushed down by two or three people to take that base. You can clutch it out by just becoming untargetable and running around on base, and there's nothing they can do about that. Um, Unless they're like Kid and Law and Big Mom who can capture while you're on it. But that's a slight utility is going to elevate her out of the bottom tier, go to D tier. Luffy, I am going to use as your benchmark for C tier. This is the characters that I said you're going to get fed fragments for. Um, his kit is usable in League. The attack with Ace comes out fairly quickly, does decent amount of damage. His normals aren't great. His launch skill gives him a little bit of mobility, but also not great. You can get some kills if the team boost is active and you have the attack boost, but um, pretty much going to be losing every fight that you try to engage with this character. However, you do get fed a lot of his fragments by doing the rookie missions when you start, so you will get him to 100 fairly quickly. You will also be able to use him as a support because of that, and you're going to get the Captain, Paramecia, Worst Generation, etc. out of it, so that's good. But I'm going to use him at the top of C tier. Don't think he belongs any higher than that, but I don't see any character in this tier being better than him because they said he is somewhat useful as a runner. This Zoro is also going to go to C tier. He has decent range. He has two skills. One is interruptible, the other is not. Both of them have fairly decent range to them, which is good for the time that he came out. His normals have range and he is a runner, so he can capture flags. Runners immediately get a slight elevation in tier just because their utility for capturing flags and the meta right now, which is runner based, um, it it just gives him the unfair advantage against defenders and attackers. Um, his skills are very interruptible and very very slow to come out. So you are essentially playing as support. You kind of want to poke and then run away when you get noticed. They don't do a ton of damage. He's a very outdated character, but just for the simple fact that he has decent range and can support his teammates from a distance, while also being able to capture flags, is going to keep him in C tier. He's just a slightly worse runner than this Luffy, so he doesn't belong any higher than that. Let's see, this is 2 years prior Perona. We are also going to put her in. She might go B tier. She might go B tier actually, yeah. I'm gonna put her in B tier, probably towards the lower end once I get more characters in here. This Perona is again a runner, so slight elevation in her estimate here. But she has two skills and some range. Her one skill is she sends three ghosts forward and she applies the status effect negative on the enemy, assuming they're susceptible to status effects, and that makes it so that they can't attack for a set period of time. That is very useful as support. However, her ghosts only go in a straight line, but they do pass through objects, so they aren't going to get caught on like boxes or barrels or any breakable object on the map like some attacks do. So that is good. And also, she can help stall. She places a giant ghost bomb in front of her when she uses a skill, and it forces the enemy to either dodge, because it is very dodgeable, And it does good damage, but it forces them to dodge into it to get the perfect dodge, which is a blessing and a curse depending on the situation. But if you have like a good teammate who fights around that, then you can force the perfect dodge from the enemy for your teammate, and then that allows them to get a guaranteed skill off. Um, with the correct timing. So I think for that simple reason that she has good support, she has a good status effect, and she's a runner on top of that, it's just gonna push her slightly above this Luffy, who only has burn as a status effect, and can't do much more than that. So I'm gonna throw her a B tier for now. This Reiju, we are gonna throw up to A tier. With the recent buffs. Prior to the recent buffs, she would have been down here, maybe even down here. The recent buffs given her durability shield, which is a phenomenal trait to have to let you tank one attack essentially guaranteed without you having to waste your dodge for it. Or even if you scuff your dodge, you still don't take damage for it, so that makes her slightly more tanky. Um, and then she heals when she's attacking poison enemies. She applies poison on crit. All of her abilities apply poison. Pink Hornet, while interruptible, is a lot more safe now that you have a durability shield because that allows you to use that in situations where you previously wouldn't have been able to. So let's say an enemy, you hit the perfect dodge on the enemy, you force their dodge, you can use Pink Hornet now if you still have your durability shield. And since it doesn't have the resist stagger effect to it, your durability shield will take the hit that would normally take you out of it, and then you get the Pink Hornet off at close range. All 5 bullets hit the enemy. They usually die from that alone because it's 5 full power skills um, in essence. So then she also provides invincibility for her teammates with her skill 2 with a fairly short cooldown. And I'm fairly certain that she reduces this cooldown when she's attacking poison enemies, and of course it applies poison. So she is a very solid support runner now with these recent buffs to her, and I think that elevated her up to A tier. Kaku, we are gonna go down to B tier. Definitely better than Perona. Kaku is a one-dimensional character. Like I said, very outdated, but he was the progenitor of the runner class. Just a straightforward speed runner. He captures faster when he's on base alone, so his job is literally just to run around the outskirts, outrun people, get to bases, capture as quickly as he can, move on to the next one. And it's very straightforward. His skill 1 dashes him forward. It's not an attack or anything, and it just gives him a speed boost so he can get to those flags faster than most characters. This was like prior to King and Odin and things like that, but still very quick in that sense. His skill 2 is fairly good if you are not immune to stun, which a lot of characters are now, so this is why he's fallen down to B tier. For that reason alone, he doesn't have fantastic range. His normal combo takes a while and leaves him vulnerable in the last hit because he jumps in the air to do a kick. And his skill 2 also is very linear. If your character is moving fast enough, you can genuinely just outrun it without even wasting a dodge. Like if you have speed boost from your team boost and things like that. And it's very, very easy to dodge. And again, most characters are immune to stun. Most meta characters are immune to stun, so it just doesn't have that same effect that you would like to have, where you could stun them and then run away from them, or even stun them if it does enough damage, you can go get the kill. So he doesn't have that kill confirm as like he used to back in the old days. So just a very straightforward character, still a good runner in terms of capture speed and ability to get to bases, but that's about all you have going for you. So that one dimension is just going to keep him below A tier. This Law is bad. We are going to throw him in C tier. I was going to say B because I was trying to compare the two in my head, and so like my bias was gonna say, well, Law's definitely better than this Luffy, but he's not. This Law has one gimmick, and that one gimmick is swapping places with opponents, and that's it. So you can do that if you want to displace your opponent when they're trying to capture a flag, or if you need to capture the flag, you can swap with them. and then capture the flag and then put them in a bad spot. Useful in like Dressrosa Coliseum if you see the fish coming, or if you position yourself like where one of the bullfish is about to hit you and you swap places with an enemy, you can swap them, put them in front of it. Just dumb gimmicks like that. But if that skill misses for any reason, there's no real way to get it off cooldown quickly. His skill 1 or skill 2, whichever, is not that skill. Is very short range, very easily dodged. He just pulls up a room, does a few slashes in it. His normals are not fantastic, but he is a runner, and so is one gimmick. And it does decent damage if you can hit. So it's just but it's very one-dimensional because he's centered around the gimmick of swapping places. Whereas this Luffy's skills both are usable, both are attacks. One gives him a dash for mobility. If you miss your shambles here, your character is legitimately worthless until it comes back. So you just have to run around and not do anything. So that's gonna keep him in C tier, I would say. This Taishigi is just a worse version of this Kaku. Very much so the same character, has a dash, um, propels her forward, gives her a little bit of speed, and she has one straightforward linear attack. But she's a 3-star character designed to just be an easy pull for you, um, or easily acquired level 100 character that you can buy, 10 of for very cheap every single day. And yeah, so not a fantastic character, just a worse version of Kaku. If you don't have Kaku and you need a quick runner, you can throw her on, I guess, if you don't have other options. But she's gonna do her job of just running and capturing bases, and that's it. These 2 year later's characters, I'm gonna just drop them in D tier. Most of them, with a few exceptions, but for me, I mean, I would even go so far as to just label them fodder. You're not going to use them. They're literally just there for support, with the exception of maybe 1 to 2 of them. But for the sake of saving time, because I don't remember their skills, I genuinely don't know what this Nami does, what the Frankie does, Chopper, etc. But they are good support because they're going to give you the Straw Hat bonus, and a few of them are attackers and Paramecia. So I'm gonna just label them fodder for now. You're gonna get them very easily. You pull these guys quite often. Um, so yeah, I'll just label them fodder. This Brook, again, like if I went into depth and looked in their skills and things, I'm sure I could find places for them between like D and C, but we're just gonna save time and just label all of these fodder until we get to one of them. This Kizaru is pitiful, sadly, but we're gonna label him B tier, probably bottom of B tier, um, because he's a runner, has the same straightforward utility of Kaku, except his gimmick is that he can use his Yata no Kagami to travel massive distances, um, and teleport, like over waters and gaps and etc. etc. Um, However, that is his utility. His normals are some of the slowest normals in the game. Damage output is not fantastic. He can set up kills by forcing a dodge, but being a light character, he is also focused around stun as his status effect. And again, with the current meta, stun is honestly a detriment. You just end up buffing the defense of like Shanks and Roger and things like that. So for that reason, we're just gonna label him B tier. Simply because that one utility of being able to travel long distances, especially towards the end of games on like Dressrosa, Coliseum, and like Arlong Park or Sabaody Park and things like that, where you can travel underneath the bridge to get to an unguarded flag just to get the capture. At the end of the game, it's gonna keep him in B tier because while that is very useful for winning games. But in terms of combat capabilities, his kit is very, very, very outdated, very bad, and he needs a new unit more than I would say any Marine. Um, this Ivankov, we're gonna throw him B tier. Um, he's not bad. He has a trait that allows him to get, I think, 30% of his health back after you're incapacitated once. So killing him's quite annoying because the least you can do is one-shot him or, have a character that applies a recovery block to nullify it. Um, his Deathwing skill is actually pretty good. It's a good knockback, deals decent damage, and comes out fairly quickly. So um, and gives him resist stagger. So like attack capability in that sense is good. His normals are good, come out fairly quickly, multi-hit, and then he has his hormone injection, um, which as a status effect is not fantastic. But it does increase the cooldown time of enemy skills when it hits. So you can use that strategically to, like if you can sneak into a fight that you see unfolding, you're going to get multiple hits. You can help your teammates by hitting that and then running away to get the flag because the enemies then can't use their skills. The problem is that they incorporated that same sort of status effect just into most character skills. Now, when you just hit them, it reduces the cooldown of like skill 1 or skill 2 by 30%. One second, let me get my cat in my room. He's whining. All right, so yeah, but like it's just incorporated in most character skills now as like an additive effect, and so it takes the uniqueness of that character away. But I think as a runner, I mean, you capture flags well, you have the two lives essentially, and it's a decent enough skills to support your team and also knock enemies away from flags so that you can capture and move on. So for that reason, we're gonna go with B tier. This Doflamingo. I'm gonna drop him in B for now. I might move him up to A, depending on who else. Actually, yeah, we'll go bottom of A. We'll go bottom of A for now. He may end up going back down to B, but this is the better version of this Kaku um, in terms of what they can do. They're both very straightforward characters. I think this Doflamingo has actually better kill potential with his whiteout or billow white attack versus Kaku's. Kaku's usually only can hit one character in a straight line. This one can hit multiple characters, and it's a multi-hit attack, so it can, knock off King or Kainu's lava, etc., etc. His Black Knight gives you invincibility during the animation. You jump over enemies, leaves behind an attack that, while doing very minimal damage, does apply stun, but can also knock down if the enemy is immune to stun, and gives you a speed boost, which allows you to just run and capture flags. So the goal for both of these characters is the same. Run, capture flags. The difference being Doflamingo has 2 lives. He gets 30% health back upon incapacitation. His Billow White is definitely a stronger attack than Kaku's Giraffe transformation, and he gets invincibility during his Black Knight, whereas Kaku is simply a straightforward dash. So you can also use this to, save a dodge, and then use the dodge afterwards if the enemy's gonna attack you or something. And it comes back very, very quickly, and you also leave that attack behind that forces the enemy to evade it. So he's just going to have an easier time getting around the map and does it a little more safely. So we're going to leave him bottom of A tier for running capabilities alone. But again, outdated character, don't try to fight people. It's not going to end well. This Hancock, I gotta be honest, I don't know too much of what she does. I know one of her skills is a straightforward love beam. That can apply petrify, but I don't remember her normals or her skill 2. But I know she's a runner. It's going to be decent. I know she's better than Bonnie, and petrification as a status effect is decent enough. So I'm just going to throw her in C tier for now. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's not a character that I ever pulled and was like, oh yeah, I want to use her. So if we are going, like stage challenge or challenge battle, series challenge, everyone's level 80. S tier. I would say S tier. That's still be too high, but like A tier. But since that is not the case, she's gonna end up down here in C tier. She has one skill that's useful in serious challenge. It's the kick. Resist stagger, does a set amount of damage. It's 5,000 at level 4, 7,500 at level 5. But 5,000 at level 4 is great in serious challenge because everyone's health caps out at about like 6k to 5.5 to 6,000. So you're doing like 90% health damage with one skill, and so it's great then. But since it caps out at 7,500 at level 5, once you get to like higher leagues and characters start having 30,000 health and things, that just doesn't do enough to justify the character being as bad as she is. She has a water gun. It's a gimmick character. It's a meme character that they made for bikini suits fan service, and so she has a radial water gun skill where she shoots a bullet in like 8 different directions. If you're inside of the other character, that's great because all 8 bullets will hit. Usually, what happens is none of the bullets hit, or it's easily dodged, or one bullet hits and it doesn't do anything. So, but yeah, she's not great. We'll just leave her at the bottom of C tier because the kick is fun and she's usable in challenge battle. This Robin I was gonna throw in as fodder. The only reason I'm not because she is in the same vein of like these 2 years later characters where she's there for support essentially. Um, I'm gonna throw her in D tier. She's about as useful as this Bonnie. The only utility that she has is that when she captures a flag, you can use one of your skills to spawn a clone on it, and that clone will stay wherever you spawn it. It doesn't do anything, but it does act as another character. So if an enemy goes to the base, they have to kill the clone before they can capture it, and then it also stays behind and charges. So if your entire team is running towards center, you can capture the first base, like your home base, and then spawn the clone on it, just to get that charge on it, so that it'll be harder for enemies to capture it, and you guys have enough time to react to it. That is her only utility. Outside of that, absolute dogshit character, so she's going in D for dogshit. Um, Bounce Man, or no, not Bounce Man, sorry, Snake Man. Snake Man, we're going A tier. Um, a bit of a hot take because he's fallen off quite a bit, but great things about this character is he's a step up character, very, very easily acquired. Fantastic support once you get him to 100, and even if you stop using him, he's amazing on red support for all of the benefits that you get from Luffy. That'll be Paramecia, Captain, New World, Runner, Worst Generation, etc. So, like, great for that. His kit is actually very good for step up still. His Black Mamba skill is the weakest of the two, but you can use that to dodge low hitting attacks because One Piece Bounty Rush, for all its flaws, has accurate hitboxes. So when you jump into the air for an attack, things can go underneath you if the attack is low hitting. Um, it does decent damage if, all, like 9, 12 hits or whatever connect. So you just use your normals. He has very quick normals with decent range to them, so you can bait out the dodge and then use the Black Mamba immediately after if you know that they don't have a skill that's going to knock you out of it. I said does good damage then, leaves behind a floor effect that staggers enemies that come into it, which is good and bad because they can get free dodges out of it. Um, so if you're fighting an enemy like Rayleigh or somebody that benefits from perfect dodges, or Shanks or something, you don't really want to have that on the ground because it's just going to keep, buffing them or allowing them to use their kit. But if it's an enemy that's prone to stagger, it will stop them from attacking you, and so you can get free combos out of it or set up your King Cobra. King Cobra is very long range, and it has an extended hitbox in the sense that once the animation is finished, the fist stays out, and then that hitbox is active for as long as it's out. So you do end up getting like late hits off of it, and it does very good damage for what it is. And you recover health every time you capture a flag. Last 30 seconds of the battle, you get like a 50% chance to dodge attacks, or maybe 25%, but to dodge, just flat out dodge attacks, which helps you capture flags or, like win quick scuffles so that you can capture flags. Being a runner, you can capture flags fairly quickly. Um, and yeah, in a meta that's still somewhat predominantly dominated by green, Him being red is just gonna, benefit him. So I would definitely keep him in A tier. He's a lot better than these characters. Very usable character. You're not gonna have the easiest time nowadays, but you can still get some decent use out of him, especially for how easily acquired he is. Moving on to Marco, we are gonna put him around Doflamingo. Um, this Marco is uh, he's like Kizaru, right? Um, and it's they do the same things, and the reason that Kizaru is down here is because Kizaru does it worse than Marco. His Yato no Kagami travels farther than Marco's, but Marco's is a shorter cooldown, has inherent traits that restore it more quickly, and it heals, and it also heals teammates, not just you. So you get that like dual benefit of having the running capacity while also being able to support your teammates if the situation calls for it. If you get caught trapped in a corner, you can get away and also heal yourself. Um, he has good inherent healing. He has two lives, I believe, as well, where if you kill him, he gets 30% of his health back, so you have to incapacitate him twice, in which case he'll probably just run away from you. And then his skill 1 is actually decent for an attack. Resist stagger, he flies around. Sometimes it misses, sure, but sometimes it also hits 2 to 3 times because of how Bounty Rush works. So, um, yeah, it's a very decent character. Keeping him in A tier just for the support capabilities alone, and then his ability to win games towards the end when your accessibility to flags that are unguarded and like free roam of the map. So we're gonna throw him in A tier. The reason he's below Snake Man is just Snake Man recovers more when he captures flags, and then also has kill potential, whereas Marco does not have nearly as much. So Snake Man's gonna be able to, if the situation calls for you have to fight, clear this team so that you can get this flag or lose. Snake Man's going to be able to help with that, whereas Marco's really not. So yeah, this ace is dog shit. We're going to put him here. Used to be very good back in his heyday. Nowadays, can't really do much. Um, has one of the worst counters in the game in terms of functionality. It's just an oversight by Bandai, but it's a two-part counter where if you hit it while the counter is active, it knocks you back first, and then he also does the animation where he spawns a flame wall, and then the flame wall is where all of the damage from the successful counter comes from. But sometimes you'll get knocked back or knocked down if your character is immune to knockback without going into the flame wall, so it actually does no damage. And then that flame wall, since it didn't hit you, is still an active hitbox, so when the enemy stands up, they can just dodge into it and get a free dodge, and then that flame wall will also never touch them again. Um, so that's just, like I said, huge oversight, and it's very bad. And then also he can get stunned and like hit with status ailments out of his counter. So let's say you use your counter, you time it well, you do what you're supposed to do, play the game well, and then a Roger swings on you, and Roger gets, or Shanks even gets the lucky stun proc on you. Um, while you're immune to the damage during that instance, you're not immune to the stun, so you can just get stunned, and then you just get literally just swung to death from there, and there's nothing you can do about it. But keeping on top of B tier for the fact that he has a counter, which, like I said, situationally can be useful for the knockback for you to get flags, and he still has good normals. His normals have always been good, just especially with the timing, it's hard to get the perfect dodge, so you usually end up getting knocked down anyway. And his Flame Emperor Entei is absolutely horrible, fucking dog shit poo poo. He it throws it very very slowly. It collides with objects and explodes, and it's interruptible by literally anything. So if you start it up and you're not in a safe position, you just get hit once and then you stop the animation and then you've done nothing with it. So the only actual way to use it is to throw it like across water or something, like on Arlong Park if you have a clear shot and you try just trying to help a teammate on a base, or to knock an enemy down and then use it while they're down. So then when it explodes, the hitbox stays for about like a second and a half after explosion. So enemies end up getting hit by it after their ground immunity wears off sometimes, and they don't expect it. But that's literally it. Not great character. Um, this Chopper, I'm gonna put in top of B tier. Definitely better than that Ace for the fact that he can heal his teammates. He also gets an attack boost. I'm gonna go bottom of A tier. Gets an attack boost for every time he uses a skill 1. Has ways to reduce the cooldown time of a skill 1 by capturing flags. He is a runner, so he can capture flags fairly well. Um, like I said, heals his teammates, provides buffs. Um, has actually fairly good normals, especially for a 3-star character. His problem is just that he's hella squishy, but um, he's honestly not a terrible character, especially for a 3-star. He does what he's supposed to do: run around the map, support, go capture flags. Has a decent attack and a skill, and you can charge it and then catch a lot of people off guard with it. But I found myself getting kills with this chopper quite often against like Rogers and Akainus and things. So like he's definitely a playable character. Um, and good support for your team. So it's going to elevate him to A tier because that utility is more than these guys can offer. Carrot, we're going to move to A tier as well. Say better than these guys. Carrot is another character where essentially you're going to be a straightforward runner. However, if the enemy is not immune to shock, then Carrot can be quite the nuisance with her ability to shock. She has fantastic speed and mobility and moving around the map. Every time she jumps off of a ledge, she gets like a 30% skill or speed boost. And anytime she shocks an enemy, she gets another speed boost as well. So, um, I said if they're not immune to shock, you can set up kills if you'd like with the shock, your skills 1 and skill 2. Or you can just get the quick shock and then take that speed boost, run away, get a base, force them to come back. By the time they come back, you already have your skills back. You can just do it again and set up the kills, but like you can constantly pester. She's very fast and like decent normals, not fantastic, but decent. So it's gonna keep her in A tier just for runner capabilities alone. And as you noticed, in A tier, literally all runners so far. And like I said, it's just running is being a runner is just part of the meta right now. We're definitely living in an era where, well, prior to Gear 5 Luffy, where running was dominating the game. So this Nami is probably about as useful as these guys. She's not great. She has one gimmick that spawning a clone sometimes confuses the enemy. If they run into it, it literally confuses the enemy. But I just mean like in real life can confuse them as to which Nami is which, so they can end up chasing the clone to the wrong flag to try to stop it from capturing. Meanwhile, you're off capturing another base, and the clone starts the animation for capturing. So um, occasionally hard to tell. She has a decent skill in her shock. Um, as well, where you shock an enemy with her thundercloud tempo or whatever. But she's not great. It's she's just a runner. Normals aren't fantastic, and they're physical, like close range normals, so unlike the newer Namis that have long range normals. So you have to be up and close, and if you're up and close, you're losing already as her. So yeah, we'll just throw her in B tier for that reason alone. This Robin's got to go top of A tier. Definitely better than all of these runners for the simple fact that she is the fastest capture in the entire game. Uh, she spawns a clone when she initiates captures, and the clone counts as another version of her. So she's literally double cap speed, and she's a runner, so she has all of the traits that already assist her cap speed and any medals that you apply on top of that. Um, in addition to that, that clone does a your skill 1. I mean, like your skill 1 when enemies get close to it. So that plays a knockback and does like decent damage. Her skill 1 also does increase damage under certain conditions. I can't quite remember what they are. But it is very quick to come out. So you get the knockback. Um, So it's easy to knock people off of the base for you to capture. Her skill 2 doesn't have a knockback, but it does push the enemies away. So if you manage to get skill 2 off against, knockback immune enemies, you can still push them off of base. And then by the time they stand up, you've already captured the flag because, again, she is the fastest capturer in the entire game. And I think that cap speed alone is just going to, top of A tier. Normals are pretty good too. So if you leave her uncontested, she is going to be a menace. You'll probably get 5-0'd, especially if there's like one or two of them, or like her in combination with the Kaido, because while Kaido's capturing the back lines, she's going to capture literally everything in a path as the enemy runs away from it. So this guy is dog shit. This is going to be our first, like, legitimate 4-star intended to be decent character, but it's just actual dog shit. Um, he beats on his chest and runs around like a fucking idiot while charging your skill 1, and it charges up so that it becomes a like knockback and applies burn or something. Does a little more damage. What happens like 10 times out of 10 is that you're charging it, trying to get to the enemy and to do it. Even if you're trying to sneak, you just end up getting caught by a stray attack and then you die, or fall out of it and you've wasted it. His other skill is also very bad. His normals are very slow, very, very bad. Um, he's just a horrible character. Definitely needs the glow up for sure. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave him there. Soga King in his prime. Oh boy, that was a good character. Nowadays, probably there, just for the simple fact of his range alone is gonna, elevate him past Ivankov. People get close to you, you do have the, was it your skill 1? That can do shoots out three attacks. They can all three hit, especially at close range, and so you can the same way I was saying with Reiju, where all 5 bullets hit, you get that one shot. It's possible with Soga King as well. Nowadays, it's not really a one shot anymore, but it still does good damage if you find yourself in a close-up situation and you need to do damage and escape. He gets his speed boost from being knocked down, I'm pretty sure, and he has an ultra long range skill with the Firebird, um, and that is also last minute of the match. It's 50% reduced cooldown time on that, so you get it back fairly often. Just good range support, can capture flags decent, um, can assist teammates from a safe distance, and just the range on the Firebird, the other skill, just gonna keep him B tier, decent character, not bad, not great. This Usopp is just a way better version of Sogeking, so we're gonna move him up to S tier. S tier for a couple reasons. He has 3 lives, so you have to incapacitate him 2 times, and then that'll put him on his final life, and then you kill him again. So it takes a lot of resources, or just a lot of time investment if you don't have recovery block to kill this Usopp. He does increase damage to green elements, which allows him to one-shot a lot of characters like Shanks and Roger and Whitebeard even before his defense boosts come up. Um, does very good damage to like Gear 5 Luffy in the current meta, because his Bagworm ignores defense. So even after Luffy stacks up all his defense buffs, if you can shoot this from a mile away, and if you get the hit, uh, it's gonna do very good damage. And then if they aren't immune to stun, they also get stunned for 10 seconds or 8 seconds or something like that, which is plenty of time for your teammate to come through and finish up the kill, or for you to come up and do it with your Skull Grass Bomb. Skull Grass Bomb heals you upon usage. You have long range normals that track enemies and also reduce the cooldown of your skills. He's got it all. Very good character, always going to be a nuisance. Finds his way back into the meta somehow every time a new green character resurfaces. So yeah, fantastic character. Always a nuisance. This guy, I honestly don't know where to place him. I kind of want to say B tier because he's not going to have as easy a time getting around the map as these two characters. I think his normals are better, absolutely. Um, his ink storm thing, in cloud, whatever, would be better if it didn't apply stun. But since most of the characters that you're going to encounter are immune to stun, it doesn't actually do anything to them. But if they were susceptible to stun, you could use that, and then they would get stun locked underneath it while you run away and capture base for a very long time. And then like that's good because it's a 50% chance per hit, and it does like 40 hits or something. So um, that would be good for that situation. Just since most characters are immune to stun, that's just gonna demote him from like A to B because that's one skill of his that's just absolutely worthless because it doesn't actually do good damage. And so your only utility is your crane, which is going to carry you across the map. So it's like your mobility attack, and then it also does damage as well as knockback. And then like your normals on top of that. But outside of those two things, doesn't really have a lot going for him. Just the fact that he's a runner. But the initial design was for you to be able to either help defend flags by putting the in cloud on it after you capture, or using it to on top of an enemy to get them stunned, and that way you can run away and capture. But it just doesn't work as well as it's intended. Um, Kyosho, we're gonna go A tier. Um, Short and sweet, does very good damage, decent normals. Both skills do great damage. One has a knockback, has the mobility in his skill 2. His skill 1, while not being able to kill enemies, does greatly increase damage because of that, and also applies a massive slow on the enemy that it hits, so you can get away and then capture bases because of that. And then in addition to all that, he heals when he captures bases, and then while he's above a certain health percentage, he appears as a friendly on the enemy minimap, so it's going to allow you to back cap a lot easier if people aren't strictly paying attention to who you're playing with and where their team actually is. So you can get away with a lot for that. So for that reason, we're going to move him up to A tier. I actually like him more than Snake Man. Um, but yeah, so A tier. This law probably there. Um, it's just a better version of this character, to be honest. They both have counters. Laws is better, does more damage. Law has an actual usable skill 2, unlike Ace, however. And he's red, so does increase damage against greens. Heals himself with his skill 2 when he captures hearts. The Heart Steal status ailment isn't amazing by any means, but it does reduce the cooldown time of your counter when it hits, and it also heals you for every enemy hits, and then you do increase damage to enemies with it. So easier time setting up kills. As a runner, not great, but he is good at. I mean, he can capture flags because he is a runner. Um, and he has traits that assist with that, but like his mobility as a runner isn't nearly as good as some of these other characters. But that counter is very, very good for getting kills, and like if you can set yourself up in a situation where you're gonna hit the entire team because everyone's spamming as they do, it's very good for that. And if they're susceptible to shock, they're probably just gonna die. So, Cat Viper, we're gonna move up top of B tier. Um, His normals are very weak. Like, they're not bad by any means, but they are very weak. He's fucking gigantic, so he has a giant hitbox, finds himself getting hit by a lot of things that you normally wouldn't be hit by with smaller characters. Um, he last 90 seconds of the battle, he does take reduced damage, which is nice for a runner. And he gets a speed boost when he spawns, which is good. I'm actually going to move him to bottom 8 tier, and the only reason I'm going to do that is because the same reason I was saying about this Usopp is Cat Viper can do his charge to knock enemies back, and then it also ignores defense. So you're going to be doing decent damage against those tanky, Gear 5 defenders with that, and then utilizing that speed boost that you get, your ability to shock susceptible enemies. Um, and his general tankiness is just gonna yeah it's better than B tier. I'd be doing him a disservice by keeping him there, but definitely not like any better than these. His mobility's not fantastic. Um, his speed boost isn't as good as like Carrot's per se. Only has one shock where Carrot has multiple. So his utility is really coming from being able to set up and hit that charge. Um, so yeah, we'll leave him there. This crocodile is the same character as this Kizaru. Um, he just has one move that teleports you or travels you, across distances. Both of them, if anyone's at the end of your line for your movement ability, you do an attack, but it is a very linear, straightforward attack that is very easily dodged by just walking away from it. So most times you won't even hit it. So that's bad on both of them. Better thing about Crocodile, which is why he's above this Kizaru, is that Crocodile can, at the very least, nah, Kaku's normals are better. Crocodile can, at the very least, knock back with his Sable's Sandstorm thing. Um, because you can hold it if you'd like. Holding it's not really suggested. The only time you would hold it is like if you do it, the enemy dodges, like gets hit by one and then tries to dodge, and then you let go at the end of their dodge animation so that it knocks them back. But he does have a knockback, which is good. So you can knock them away from you, capture the base, and then get out. So that's inherently makes him better than Kizaru, who doesn't have a knockback, but his normals are also bad. And he's just a one-dimensional gimmick character. So this Big Mom. Hot take. Only EX that's bottom of A tier. I would even venture so far as to put her in B, but um, put her in A tier because if the enemy is shock susceptible, she's still good. Quite a nuisance. The issue is that, especially with most people playing with like Luffy right now, who's immune to shock, it nullifies her entire kit. Um, and she's a runner, so if you can't get them off of the base, you can't really do much else. Um, and Luffy's immune to knockback too, so that nullifies her other skill. So she's just not great. But if you are susceptible to shock, she's amazing because she can like spark up Zeus, and then she lets out a little pulse that shocks enemies in contact like every couple of seconds, which allows you to set up combos where like you can shock them, hit them twice, shock them again, walk away, start charging your other skill while they're standing there, and then let that go, and they'll die or knock them back, or free captures if you shock them off outside of base, etc. So like that's good. The problem is just this is current meta. So with current meta, she's just bottom A tier because she doesn't have anything outside of that shock ability. Like if she can't shock them, she's worthless. Odin finally gonna be moving. Oh well, not finally. We're moving to S tiers. Um, Odin's just your good run of the mill runner now. S tier for his kit, his tankiness, his health recovery. On capture, he can provide speed boost to the teammate behind this trail of his skill 1, and then or skill 2. Skill 2 reduces cooldown when he captures, in addition, healing himself. It also provides him immunity during the dash, so you can get through a lot of like narrow spaces while also hitting the enemy. His skill 1 is a very, very fast acting teleport skill where you teleport to the enemy and hit them twice. Stuns on first hit, knocks down on second, does massive damage. He gets massive attack boost every time an enemy dies. He does crazy damage on base, like 60% extra or something. So um, he's got it all as far as runners go. It's just there are better runners now that have just demoted him from, top tier. But if you have Odin, you should still rejoice. He's still a very good character. You're still going to get a lot of use out of him and his capabilities out of a runner alone. But what I like about Odin as a runner is that, again, a lot of problem with these runners is that, and why Snake Man's as high as this is because he's not one-dimensional. If the situation calls for it, you can definitely get kills with Odin very easily, especially with all of his attack boosts. So you aren't just limited to running and capturing bases, but you're very good at that as well. So, sorry, top S tier. This Bond Clay, hmm, one gimmick alone is keeping him from being C tier with the rest of the Cola characters I plan on putting down there. Um, we'll throw him around here. I don't know if he's as good as Ace. Uh, because while stun immunity wasn't part of the meta, he would have been fine because one of his skills was very good then. Nowadays it's not, and you can just get knocked out of it very easily, or even punished for doing it. But the reason he's here is because, like Kyoshiro, he has the same trait where for a certain portion of the battle, you appear as a teammate or a teammate for the enemy team. So you can get very easy back caps because of that. He has decent mobility in one of his skills, and he does have a knockback as well. But like in terms of straightforward fighting now, it's just not great. But you can get utility out of him as a runner. And so for that reason alone, I'm gonna keep him in B tier. Yeah. Kobe, we're gonna go up to A tier. If I have Chopper here, I have to put Kobe here as well. Um, Probably there, one of the two. Kobe has that same mobility as Kaku in terms of a dash, being able to move forward to get the speed boost out of it. Um, but that also dual functions as an attack for Kobe, whereas for Kaku it does not. So Kobe has an attack in that he has decent normals that move him across the map. So moving with your normals is actually faster than running normally. You also get the same healing capabilities of Chopper while also providing immunity to your teammates like Reiju. And then traits that reduce the cooldown of that as the enemies die. The only problem with Kobe though is that he doesn't have a durability shield like Reiju does, and killing is not easy. So he falls into the category of straightforward runners, runner support more so than anything. Whereas these guys all have a little more kill capabilities or more mobility that is propelling them forward. But very decent unit, especially for a step up. Good support for your team, especially if you're good at like timing and predicting enemy abilities, where you can save your team by healing them and then also giving them immunity from like Luffy attacks or something. So yeah. If I have these characters in A tier, I have to have her in A tier as well. Just having a hard time deciding where. Probably there. Um, she used to be one of the biggest nuisances of the game. You would see her in every match. Nowadays, not so much anymore, which is great. Uh, but she can turn herself invincible, like Bonnie down here. But again, to reiterate, she can actually interact with the game while she's doing it. She can capture flags. She can attack enemies. Um, she can, like jump down edges, etc. She can do whatever she wants while she's invincible, whereas Bonnie is limited to just running around. Um, but she also applies debuffs on every step of her normal attack combo. And then she can prevent the enemy from attacking her with her skill 1, which also reduces the cooldown of her skill 2. Um, but just falling off now, especially if an enemy has reduced like 80% reduction of status ailment times, or is just flat out immune to status ailments because that's her whole entire kit is preventing you from doing things while she's in, and then attacking you, and then when your status ailment runs out, she can just turn invincible and then continue attacking you and like resetting her combo or capturing flags in front of you with nothing to do. But the simple fact remains she can still become invincible, and if she captures a flag or starts capturing a flag, you have nothing to do but hope that she doesn't capture it in time, because you can't interact with her. So for that reason, like always going to be an A tier character for that alone. And instead, if you're susceptible to status ailment, she can be quite annoying. This guy's B tier. I honestly don't even think he's as good as these. I'd say somewhere around Crocodile. All he does is go underground, which and prevents him from being down and resist stagger, so he can like go through an engagement if you're tanky enough. But you're usually not tanky enough. You just end up getting knocked out of it or hit with a status ailment. Um, but you can like go through that and pop out on the other side, capture a flag, and then try to do the same thing. His diaper bomb has okay attack power with a knockback effect. And like coming out of the ground also has an attack, but you have to space it very, very well because they have to be like at the end of the animation for it. It's not just like being in the same area as you. So he's not great though. I wouldn't play him if I had any other option, but if you do, you can get some gimmicky use out of it. Rayleigh, we're gonna go to A tier. I'd say better than Kyoshiro. Probably not as good as Reiju these days, but um, I don't know. It might be better than Reiju, but Rayleigh is like fantastic in the hands of a good player that is well acquainted with every character's animations and dodge timings, and then you can just abuse that, keep your speed up. And you get a massive speed boost when you get a perfect dodge. He also teleports behind the enemy and then does a knockback that does 30% of their health and damage. So you can, and it also resets his dodge. So in the hands of a great player, Rayleigh will literally perfect dodge nonstop, keep that speed, and then also keep doing that damage. He also has a teleport skill on his own that does the same thing. And then he has a very fast acting skill too that even when perfect dodge can still get the hit and stun on the first hit because that's just how Bounty Rush is. So, like, and good attack power all around his kit. So, very fast, very mobile runner, and rewarding if you are a good player that can hit those perfect dodges. So, top A tier for sure. This Brook, back when you could actually stun, was good, but nowadays you can't. So, um, I'll have to go through and remind myself what his kit is. I know there's a Soul King, but oh, it's the dash forward into freeze. Um, if you're susceptible to status ailments, this Brook is like up here somewhere. Since most characters aren't, his Soul King actually just lost utility, and his freeze did as well. And so his only utility is for enemies hit by that, they get their attack reduced. But it is a very conditional utility. So for that reason, I'm gonna put him in B tier now. Just it's gonna be hard for you to get kills when enemies aren't susceptible to stun or freeze, which most characters these days aren't. And so you have a harder time doing your job as a runner because whereas before they would just be status element locked and you perma stun while you capture flags in front of them, this time they can just swing and get you off of it. And it's easier to dodge your Soul King when you are actually getting stunned by it. So just for that reason alone, he just lost a lot of his kit, and so we're just gonna go to B tier for that for now. Sanji is literally in the same vein as these characters, with his ability to leap beyond things, but he also gets he has good normals. He gets attack boosts. He has a teleport skill, so he has double capacity to jump ledges and or bridge gaps, and also has a knockback attached to one of them, and does just good damage all around. So I'm gonna throw him past the Marco and the Doflamingo, but without the ability to like stun lock enemies with lightning and get that same sort of speed boost as Carrot. I don't think he's quite as good as Carrot these days. Um, Especially if Carrot can apply shock. If Carrot can apply shock, he's better. But if Carrot can't apply shock, conditionally she's the better character. But very good attack damage in the Sanji and good as a runner and your ability. Actually, no, I'm gonna put him above Carrot. Carrot can't go. She can't bridge gaps. He can do it in two different ways. So yeah, we're gonna put him there. Yamato S tier. I don't think she's as good as Odin. Might be my hot take. Actually, no, she is. Only because she has a counter. And she has status effect immunity when she's charging her skill 2 or skill 1. Skill 1. Um, does amazing damage with it as well. And since it is a skill that you charge, you choose when to let go. So it's easier for you to get hits because you can bait the enemy into thinking you're going to fully charge it and then letting go early. And it is very hard to dodge on reaction. Um, So yeah, for that reason alone, she has the same kit in terms of like being able to capture flags, stay on it while people are hitting you. The only way to get her off is to hit you with status ailments. The only way to get Odin off is to not be on the base with him and then knock him back. Or then hit him with an attack that has long range to it, or to knock him off of the flag. But if you knock him off of the flag while you're on it with him, he doesn't die. He maintains 1 HP. Yamato does not. No, she does. But she's susceptible to status ailments while she's capturing, whereas Odin is not if you're on the flag with him. So, moving on, this Vivi is like here as well. She can capture flags quickly once you build up your capture speed, but the problem is to build up the capture speed, you have to knock enemies back with her like duck headbutt thing, and that's like same vein as this character where you just have to walk around and pray to God you don't die on your way to hit enemies. So you usually just end up using it like after you force an enemy dodge, you use it because you know you're gonna get the hit, and you just pray that they don't like stun lock you. But she can jump over gaps with her skill too, and that makes her like decent. So actually probably like top of B tier for that reason alone. But she has no utility. That's a fodder character. I don't know how I managed to miss these. This character's not even fodder. He's just dog shit. Yeah, they're just ass. Like no actual utility in game. This character is also ass. He's like same level of gimmicky as Bonnie, but worse now because characters like Kid and Law and um, Big Mom can capture bases while you're on top of them, and so his entire gimmick is using his counter to make him fall down and become damage immune on top of the base, and that gives you like 7 seconds worth of stall. So if an enemy, sets off your counter, then they can't interact with you for 7 seconds, so they can't capture the base. But now Kid Law can just proc your counter and then capture the base while you're on the ground for 7 seconds, and so you've lost all utility in this gimmicky ass character. This character is like here as well. I'm not bothering organizing these in any sort of order. Kuma's B tier. I used to use Kuma a lot too, so I'm actually like well versed on this character and the problems that he faces. I'm gonna put him here. The only thing Kuma has going for him is that he is tanky against runners. If you're a runner, Kuma can uh, reduce like 60% damage. Sorry, it's not 60%, it's 80%. You can get 80% damage reduction without metals. With metals, you can go up to like 100% damage reduction. And then there's runners like Odin's who ignore that because they get 60% buff. So really you only get 40% DR against Odin, and he does so much damage to you that you just end up dying, which sucks. But he can heal himself with every knockback. His pad cannon goes through walls. So you can use that to support your teammates and sneak enemies where they can't see you. It's capable of hitting multiple times because of how the knockback functionality works in Bounty Rush. And so like that as a support, like Kuma is good for charging a base and then supporting the middle base from a distance. You can sneak in with your Ursa Shock, which ignores defense, and then use that. And then your normals go through walls as well, so you can just retreat from there and then throw normals at them until the enemy gets tired of you and then goes to kill you. But once they decide to do that, you're going to have a hard time doing anything because Kuma, in like scenarios where you have to do close range fighting, you're going to lose almost every time because his normals don't actually stagger until the second or third hit. So you have to get a perfect dodge and then do two normals. And usually by the time your second normal comes out, because they're so slow, you're already getting hit again. And so it just, yeah, you lose every time. So, yeah, not a great character, but for support capability and like general tankiness alone, I'm gonna keep him in B tier. Um, yeah, this Shanks is going C tier with this Luffy. He's the same vein of character where you're going to get him to level 100 just based off of missions alone. Um, and he's okay. Skills both have knockback to them. One of them has resist stagger. His normals are bad, but they do decent enough damage. You'll see a lot of these in early league battle stages for the fact that He's going to be like one of your first level 100 characters, and you'll be able to abuse that for a little while. Um, because stat wise, he's not terrible, but not a good character. We're just going to go bottom of C tier for that. Nightmare Luffy. I kind of want to speed run a lot of these because we have a lot of characters to get through, and this video is already an hour, so I want to get to like some of the later stuff. Um, so I'm not going to go into too much depth for a lot of these characters now. Nightmare Luffy does decent damage, has one decent skill, two decent skills, one scales with his health. Problem is they're both very easy to dodge, and his normals are really bad. So I'm going to put him bottom of B tier, probably even C tier actually, somewhere in C tier, yeah. Not a great character, but he is good for support. Urush, I'm going to put top of B tier. He has a good counter. His entire kit these days is just built around his counter, getting his counter off, and it heals you. And I mean, it is very predictable, very easy, but a lot of people in this game just do skills on immediately. They'll do a skill. If you dodge it, they'll just wait a second and then do their next skill. So very easy to set up the counters, and if you can hit them, it does great damage, knocks back, and heals you. His normals are very slow, however, and his skill 1 is very, very slow, easy to dodge, and yeah, not fantastic. But for the fact that his counter alone, and then he also gets increased damage and takes reduced damage to lower his health. When you hit that counter at low health, usually end up going back to like near full health, but also you usually end up getting one shots for a lot of the characters that try to contest you. So counter alone being what it is, I'm going to keep him B tier, top of B tier. Don't remember much about this kid. I know he's a defender. I know he has a skill that draws enemies in, and then he does like a radial swing. I think his other skill, he just shoots like metal forward at you with a knockback effect. Um, I don't know his traits well enough to say how good he is, but I'm pretty sure he's not great. But I know he's better than this Luffy, so I'm gonna put him somewhere in C tier. Probably around there. I don't think he's like good enough as a defender to do his job, but this boy is pure dog shit. He's like I would throw him in F tier if F wasn't simply reserved for fodder characters, but that boy is pure dog shit. Like worst 3-star, worst character in the game. Uh, this guy is like here. Um, his wall is broken. They've never decided to go back and fix it. It's supposed to be a counter, and if enemies hit it, you push it forward, doesn't attack. You usually end up spawning it, and instead of being like a 360 radio counter like most counters in the game, it is only the wall, and the wall's hitbox is separate from yours. So if you get hit, you get knocked down, and the wall does absolutely nothing. And that's what happens like 95 times out of 100. So yeah, really bad character. His normals are decent though. And I say decent, like they're decent. And then he has a punch, like a barrier punch, but it's like slow on startup and very easy to dodge, and also doesn't have much range to it. It's just like a worse version of page one's skill 1. So I'm gonna put him in D tier for that reason, just because his entire kit centered around that wall just doesn't work, and he's not tanky enough as a defender to justify playing. Utility sake alone, I'm gonna put this guy in B tier. I don't want to put him next to Kuma, but I'd say he's less useful than all of those characters. Maybe even bottom of B tier, but nah, he's more useful than Perona. So we're gonna leave him there. He can apply silence to the map, so the enemies can't see you or your teammates' positions. And in a meta where Kaidos are backcapping like crazy and Kid and Law and capturing bases nonstop, and Kings flying around the map, that's going to be very useful to support a runner-based team to get those backcaps. And it gives them like a 30% defense buff on top of that, but he doesn't have much damage reduction or defense, like inherent defense, to justify being a defender. He does very, very little damage. His normals are not great, and his skill 1, while spammable, doesn't do much except for knock enemies back. But you can spam it, and it's like a delayed timer, so it's kind of hard for enemies to dodge. But since you don't get like healing on knockback or anything like that, it's just a matter of time before you die. So you're basically there for your support capabilities alone, and like dropping those grenades, and just helping your team backcap. But like you're not much of a stall character, so you're not doing your job as a defender. So yeah, she sucks. But I would say still better than those characters, so I'm gonna put her like there. If she can apply bind to you, great. Um, then her kit is useful. If she can't apply bind, then her kit is not useful at all. And it's as simple as that. As a defender, not fantastic. Normals are okay. They apply bind to enemies. One of her skills is good. The one that's actually the attack. The other one is like a cage move that, applies bind to anyone around it. Um, Again, if you can apply it, cool. If you can't apply it, she's your run-of-the-mill weak defender. So this Sabo's probably like there. Um, he can go invincible using his Dragon Claw, um, and that is good for like stalling. And it has a knockback on it, but everything else about him is bad. Normals are bad. The other skill is bad. Traits as the defender is bad. So, not really doing too much for anyone aside from, abusing invincibility during an attack, but it's a very slow attack that takes a while to go off. So, we're gonna see. This Garp is actually like B tier. For the cannonballs alone, he's a 3-star character, easy to get to 100. His cannonballs still do massive damage, but everything else outside of that is bad. So, just bias sake, I'm gonna put him up in B tier, but like in all honesty, probably somewhere around here. But the cannonballs can get kills still, so that's good. This guy is dog shit. Um, Good in boss battle, somewhat, but there are better characters for that now even. So, um, like in league battle, and that's what this tier list is for, is like challenge and league. That character is dog shit. Don't use them. This is one of those situations I spoke about earlier where I said I was going to put all of these in fodder with a few exceptions. The Zoro is going to be one of the few exceptions. He's like this Bikini Nami in every sense, except slightly better. So his normals are actually pretty good for what the character is. Um, he has a knockback in his Dragon Twister, and then his Dragon Shock attack does the same thing where it's like 7,500 damage. He does resist stagger, so it's like guaranteed to go off. It also applies stun if the enemy's not stun immune. So like you get that damage, you also get the stun, and then you can set up for your next attack and knock them back. And then it's a persistent attack on his Dragon Twister. But for the fact that his normals not being as bad as they should be, I'm just gonna put him up in like bottom of C tier. So like if you have him as a defender, don't despair. Like you could probably use him in early league and stuff and get away with it, but um, not great. I don't remember much of this Frankie, so I'm just gonna put him with the rest of these characters here. This Magellan's like the same problems as Brook, where he's about as tanky as Kuma. But Soul King and the Venom Demon are essentially the same thing now. The difference being his can't stun, his will apply poison and venom, but venom these days, a lot of these characters have traits where they heal when they take percentage damage, and the healing that they receive is more than the damage output of poison. So what you actually end up doing is you apply poison to characters like Zoro or Sugar or Yamato and stuff like that, and then they actually just end up healing to full health, no matter how low they are, because the poison lasts so long and does so many ticks that they end up healing. It's like 2% versus 2% healing damage output, or first and 4% for like Venom, versus like 8% healing received every time they take damage. So they end up healing like 4% of their health every tick. Um, so yeah, not great. And he's just not tanky enough, doesn't do enough damage. His gimmicks are he has a very high health pool and high defense, but his attack is very low. So, but he doesn't even tank enough because he doesn't have enough damage reduction. Um, to allow him to stay on base like you would want him to. And he doesn't have any healing like at all. Sengoku. Whew, this is so let's hot take. I actually like Sengoku a lot. I'm gonna move him there. He can heal a team. He can give your team attack buffs. He heals a lot with every knockback. His normals have knockback effect to them. His skill 1 has knockback. His skill 1 has stun. He moves very, very quickly for a defender because his normal chain launches him across the map. And yeah, since the recent buffs on him, he actually became quite good. So moved him up to middle of the pack A tier for sure. Definitely a better defender than every character I have down here. I don't have a lot of defenders on here yet, but if you're a hacker, SS, best character in the game. If you are not a hacker, like somewhere in B tier, probably like there. Um, Prometheus skill does decent damage. The Zeus skill, if you are susceptible to shock, can set you up for the Prometheus skill. She takes all of her damage reduction is tied to her health, so you don't have to like be on base or anything. You just have to be above 90% health, which is easier said than done. But if you are above 90% health, and you know you're set up and with a tanky setup and like damage reduction metals, then you can abuse that for sure and stay full health for quite a while or roaming around the map. And like her skills are decent. Her normals are bad, but her skills are decent. So um, yeah, I'd say like B tier. Again, if you're a hacker though, best character in the game. This white beer came out with the game. He is dog shit. It's just setting up Trimmer and then hitting you with the other skill that ignores defense. But his normals are really bad and his traits as a defender are really bad. So he's definitely going to be C tier somewhere. Probably about as good as, probably better than Sabo. Probably put him there. But his skills are really bad. Blackbeard with the recent changes is definitely S tier. The reason I'm putting him above Odin and Yamato is versatility. Uh, Vortex, especially with all the power users these days, Vortex just does a ton of damage. He gets attack boost buffs. He um, heals himself quite a bit every time he gets a kill. Black Hole is an absolute menace. It has crazy range now, so you end up pulling everyone in from a mile away. It has its problems, don't get me wrong, but it is a very long invincible skill that has good range, pulls in, and then does good damage as well. And he has good normals. And his team boost is healing, so if you're having a hard time killing him, and then team boost pops up, and then he goes back to full health, like it just hurts. But yeah, definitely a great character now. It has improved with the recent changes made to him. This character I'm just gonna put here-ish. He's bad. Came out the game. He's like same level of bad as these Shanks and things. Um, yeah, it's he has very delayed old normals. So like back in the old days, the normal chains were like 4 or 5 hits instead of three, like they usually are now. And so you don't really ever know when to dodge, and so you dodge early, end up getting knocked down. It's quite annoying. And then like his skills are so long. Um, It like takes so long an animation that sometimes you just dodge early and end up getting hit by him anyway. But he can't really do much with them, so it's just going to be C tier. He does apply freeze on hit sometimes, and that's quite annoying, so that's why he's in C tier. But just not a great character. Honestly, I want to put Fujitora down there too, but tankiness alone, he's just going to go B tier. If you're fighting on base with someone, it's great. Here he's better because he can actually use his normal combos. But if you're fighting anyone one-on-one, you have the slowest normals in the game. Almost impossible to get a full combo off without just getting mollywopped. Um, his meteor is good because it's a delayed offset attack that comes down, ignores defense, does decent damage. So you can use it in team fights, and you don't have to go through the full animation. You usually start it up, and like the meteor becomes active within the first second. So even if you get knocked down or something, the meteor still comes down later. And that's his only saving grace. His Gravity Tiger's dog shit. His status effect application is dog shit, and he doesn't really get benefit off of knockback. So, and it's very easy to dodge. Like literally everything he does aside from the meteor, which is still dodgeable in reaction. So, yeah. So just go B tier. And he has damage reduction tied into fighting on base with other people. So if your teammate abandons you, you just get fucked. Um, His smoker with the recent changes is like decent if you can stun. If you can't stun, not great. So I'm gonna find another character that was also status effect dependent and just place him with that sort of right there. He's a defender. All of his stuff is tied into stun. If you can stun, you heal a ton and do good damage. If you can't stun, then your kit is kind of inherently worthless. So um, just for the fact that he's like a conditional character, but I mean, if you can stun, I would even put him up in A tier because it's quite good. But just not the case these days. I put Mr. 3 here. I think he's better than Sengoku. As a defender, just two shields, provides defense and attack buffs to his teammates, has normals that actually stagger, and then you can reset the cooldowns of your shields by hitting your skill 1 after skill 2 is already out. So you can hide behind the shield, move around it to fight the team. Very good stall character, and since you have two shields, even if your shield gets one shot, you can throw up the second one and then also reduce the cooldown of the one that was wasted. So played correctly, like in the right hands, Mr. 3 is a menace. Definitely consider playing with them. Garp, we're gonna move here with Sengoku because Garp can fight characters that most characters can't. Garp can is an entire kit centered around fighting attackers and captains. So Luffy's, Rogers, Shanks, all those characters that you're very familiar with. Garp takes reduced damage from and deals increased damage to. Problem with Garp is his normals are very slow, so even though he gets knockback on the third hit and then heals off of knockback, it's hard to get that third hit off, especially with characters like Shanks, who you're designed to fight, who have red hockey state, and then they can just swing through anything you do, so you can't actually do a normal combo at all. But you also can't target them with your skills because of how red hockey state works, so you have no choice but to do normals, or like try to set up your cannonball and stuff. And it's hard playing with him. If Garp had any sort of trait that allowed him to resist stagger for like 10 seconds after he gets knocked down, or reduce status ailment affliction by 80% or something like that, or even like ignore status ailment if he's on a charge base, he would be a lot better. But for the simple fact that he can't do that, the only thing that's keeping him in this tier is his skill 2 cooldown reduction when you hit enemies, or maybe skill 1, his healing on his knockback, and his ability to knock back with his normals, and he just does good damage on all of those as well. So his ability to fight Roger and somewhat fight Shanks is keeping him up in A tier. But I think Sengoku does all of the things that Garp does, just way better, and also has more mobility and can also heal himself with the Cannonball skill that also does good damage and provide attack boosts. This ace is just worse, Mr. 3. Um, the only thing keeping him here is the fact that he can heal, your team with their shields. And that utility alone is going to put him like there. You can heal your team with the shields. He has, I think, the highest inherent damage reduction in the game. I think it goes up to like 110%, like no metals. And then he can also increase his defense by 30%. He has a high defense pull and a high health pull, which increases Marco's usability, um, functionality rather. And yeah, just for the fact that you can get the shield. And he also has ways to reduce the cooldown on that shield fairly easily through the use of metals. So, and traits that, reduce the cooldown when you're fighting with people. So if you're fighting with someone on base and like, your team doesn't just abandon you, he's very, very useful. Because like he doesn't do damage with his normals. His cross does decent damage. His normals do literally jack shit. And that's why Mr. 3 is better. And why I said his normals actually stagger enemies, whereas his don't until the second or third hit. And but he has the healing, whereas Mr. 3 doesn't. And tied into the skill anyway, Mr. 3 has his own way to heal. Uh, and you get his shield has more health than Mr. 3's, and I think he also has an inherently higher health pool. But if you're fighting with someone, very, very good for supporting your team and reducing your own cooldowns, and you do more damage when you fight with people as well. So the team needs to fight around it if they ever see this ace. Don't leave him to defend something by himself. He's going to have a hard time. But fighting with him is super beneficial, so I'm just leaving him up in A tier for that, for his support capabilities. This Brooks like, oh boy, he's like here, somewhere around here. Put him with the other Brook. Long range normals that can apply freeze, which is decent. Can also has a skill that can apply freeze. Also has a skill where he shoots spectral ghosts through walls that heals you when it makes contact with the enemy. Also confuses them, reduces their attack. So like all of that's good and dandy. Your normals, however, same issue as like aces, where you don't stagger until the second or third hit. No, that may not be true with him. No, you may apply stagger normal, but they are a straight line attack. I said it has decent range to it, but your job as a defender isn't to be like a long range poke. Your job as a defender is to defend a base. If people approach you, then you'll be able to stall that base, and he can't do that well, especially if he can't apply freeze. Because your skill one is useless in close range aside from getting a heal on yourself, but it also leaves you vulnerable by the time the enemy stands up, so they can just start swinging on you and you lose that health that you got back anyway. So, but as a long range support, he's decent, so I'm just gonna leave him in B tier for that. This fucking Land of Wanna Law is like the worst 4-star character in the game. Just gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but if you have him, fucking, he's fodder. He's good for your support if you have him on level 100. Dog shit, absolute dog shit otherwise. Kinemon. Where to put Kinemon? Probably here. I would say A tier. Has great mobility for a defender. Skills are decent. Has a good counter. Can fight Big Mom because if she applies flame to him, she's just gonna keep resetting his counter. Um, yeah, I mean it's about as simple as that. I don't really know what to say. I don't really treat him much as a defender. I think of him more as a pseudo attacker. But yeah, I mean, good counter, good skills, great mobility. Honestly, the counter makes him better than Garp. About the same ability as Sengoku, however. Fewer ways to heal, though. So, Asura Doji, just gonna go B tier. He's like the same character as Urush, where uh, just has a counter and a little bit of inherent healing, and that's about it. That's his entire kit. Is if you're fighting on a base size 80% or more or something, you heal over time. But really, your entire kit is just getting your counter to go off and then doing your one skill occasionally. But he's not a great character. Speed running, so these are probably get a little inaccurate over time. Kawamatsu, I feel, is like here as well, though. Only reason he's even that high is because he can ignore status ailments. They have an 80% reduced time for him. But if you can't knock enemies back, then you can't get your defense buff, and a lot of enemies are immune to knockback. And you also have to knock them back out of your treasure area, so it can't just be knock them back in general. So you're limited to fighting on base to get your kit, and he just doesn't do enough damage, and his normals aren't great. So this NL is like the same character as this, except instead of stun, it's just shock. You want to shock people, and all of your damage reduction is tied into your shock or your skill 2. But if you can't shock people, you can't reset your skill 2. And then also your skill 2 gives perfect dodges to characters like Rayleigh and shit who super benefit from it. And yeah, it's just not great. I really wish that the character was better because I love Enel, but um, yeah, like B tier. If you can shock people, great. You can set up kills. If you can't shock people, you're not gonna set up any kills. You're just gonna get mollywopped. So all you can do is just do your best to stall on base. But he has good damage reduction if your skill two's up. His Perona is better than them, so I'm gonna move her up to like bottom of A tier somewhere. Um, your Hollow Ghost, your Negative Ghost, travel around the map seeking out enemies, and then it hits them. It's like the same as that Perona, but hers actively seek enemies, goes out in 3 different directions, and then it hits them, applies the negative, goes through walls, etc., and doesn't collide with objects. So great for that sense. And then she has a one where the ghosts circle her, and so you can move while you're doing your normals. And that is going to allow you to poke the enemy while also hitting them with the skill over and over again. And Yeah, so like great support defense. She has decent defense. She gets defense buffs when you apply the hollow, but no ways to heal herself. Not enough damage reduction to actually tank a base. And in a one-on-one fight, you're probably going to lose just based on how easy it is for enemies to combo her versus how hard it is for her to get staggers and like safely retreat from enemies. So, but like decent support. So we'll put her there. Mihawk going up here with the defenders in the A rank. Um, I'd say he's better than these just for not as a defender. As a defender, these two are definitely better and more capable. But he can heal himself. He does great damage. Has attacks that go through walls. Does massive damage. Also provides him an attack buff. Has great knockback and is fairly tanky as well. On top of all of that, so a little more versatile in how you can use him um, than these characters, where these are going to be straightforward stall defenders. This one can be a defender while also helping your team by, charging up from a safe place and hitting them from behind walls and doing damage and applying knockdowns and knockbacks and stuff. Sentomaru, sadly, these days is just going to be B tier. Tried to use him the other day to get an assessment of that, where he's like him, where he can counter and heal himself. Sento does have like some of the naturally highest defense in the game with ways to increase his defense by charging up bases. Um, However, if you can't knock down, bottom A tier. If you can't knock down or knock back, then you don't get your healing, and that really sucks. Um, but he has decent normals, and like I said, if you can knock back, he has great ways to heal himself. So, and like some of the highest defense in the entire game. So I am gonna move him up to A tier because he's better than Rouge for sure. But yeah, this is one of those Cola characters. I'm thinking of moving all Cola characters to like what C tier somewhere. Probably better than her. Probably better than him. Probably better than I'll just move him there. I'll just move colas with a Luffy, treat them all as the same. So I'll go through and do that now, actually, because I don't want to have to continuously do that. So it's Nami. Um, it's Marine Ace somewhere. Yeah, there he is. Alright, sure. We'll just treat them the same as them. I don't fully know all of their kits, but I know that they're not absolute dog shit. And they have something to them that makes them okay. So, whatever. Treating this boy as fodder. I know he can do a little more than I give him credit for, but at the end of the day, that's what you want the character for, is just fodder. This is that. Yeah, all these characters suck. I'm still going to keep you at the bottom, though, because you suck more. That is that. That is that. Ooh, the Sanji is not fodder, but he might as well be. Um, nah, I'll give him a little more credit than that. I'm going to move him bottom of B tier. We're going bottom of B tier with this boy because he has some of the worst normals in the game. One of the most useless skills in the game with the little healing basket thing, but you can provide an attack boost and slightly heal a teammate if you manage to land. So if they stand still for you, which they usually don't. But for the fact that his kick, I think it ignores defense and can get kills if you manage to sneak certain enemies with them. Um, is his only defining trait. Everything else outside of that is garbage. Like I said, some of the worst normals in the game. But the kick is good enough and has enough kill power that it elevates him to probably like B tier. But not a great character. This category is right up here with these boys. Um, where I would probably even say there. Um, he is somewhat tanky. Katakuri's problem is that they try to be true to canon so that he never falls down. The issue with that is that it just ends you end up getting comboed out like crazy because the enemy hits you with a full combo and normally you'd be down and invincible, get time to recharge your skills. Katakuri just gets pushed back a little bit and then he's fully combo or able to be comboed again. So that really sucks. That makes him more squishy as a defender than he should be. He does have ways to heal himself in his Gatling punch, and it does push enemies away. So I think you can actually push certain enemies that are capturing base off of the flag, sort of like how Treble can pull enemies away from it without proccing like King's immunity to damage and stuff. But it's still not great. His skill 2, his Buzzclaw Mochi or Buzzcut Mochi is very slow startup, doesn't do enough damage, has a decent knockback effect, however, so you just kind of want to sneak with it. But really, I think your entire kit is going to be focused around maintaining your damage reduction while also giving yourself healing metals so that when you do the Gatlin Punch, it manages to heal you back to full and staying full. But that doesn't quite work if enemies ignore damage reduction. You usually just end up dying almost immediately, and then you can also get just comboed out by like Roger or something because you don't fall to the ground. So it's a detriment more than it is a benefit. Sugar, we're going up to A tier with you. Say somewhere around the same level as Garp. She can fight a Kainu a little easier. I would actually put her higher. So she has the same thing where knockback does heal her. It also increases her defense. It heals her more, and she has the toy effect on top of that. She's better than Kinemon for sure. Um, she has the toy effect on top of that. Toy status element, which makes the enemy unable to interact with the game at all for about 5-6 seconds. You can also set it up so that the end of your combo chain comes at the end of or as their toy form ends, so you can knock them down for free, or throw out your toy soldiers to get the knockback, heal yourself. She doesn't take percent health damage because she heals for a set amount as well, so you can fight people like a Kainu and then even heal on poison. And she also has 2 lives, so you have to kill her, incapacitate her once, and then she gets health back, and then incapacitate her again. So she can be quite tanky, quite annoying to kill. And you said you find yourself turning into a toy and getting your attacks nullified, and she has a counter. So actually, for that reason, the counter alone, I'm gonna move her up to there. Rebecca is dog shit. It's like same utility as these guys. Um, she can be annoying from a distance. She can heal. She has long range skills. She has a tremor for when people get close, and she has decent normals. But she doesn't do enough damage to justify doing anything. And she's also a defender, so you don't really want to. I don't know how she's a defender, but she is a defender. But you don't play her like that. You just play her like support. From a distance, do your Gatling gun, put up metals that reduce the cooldown of it, and yeah. Um, I don't know. I'm just gonna drop her there. I feel like I'm dropping a lot of characters there. Realistically, probably like there. I'll just put her there. Yeah. Monette's actually like kind of A tier now. Same reasons as these guys. She has shield. It's good as Asa. She has long range normals, multi hit. She has knockback. Good knockback. Good mobility because of her knockback skill, and also applies freeze on her normals and on her shield. And yeah, she's and has great ways to increase her own defense. So I'd say with the recent buffs made to her, probably around there. About as good as these other shield characters, but a little more uh, capable than both of those. Caesar sucks. He's a poison character now. He said poison, he ends up healing most characters if they can get poison. That's why I'm putting him in the same vein. It's the literal same character. If your status effect is applicable, he's as good as these characters, probably right there. If your status effect is not applicable, his entire kit is worthless. And yeah, bad normals, bad mobility, some of the worst mobility in the game. But like good healing if you can apply poison. This Robin's like A tier defender, say a little better than Garp and Kinemon, not as good as him, just because he has more versatility in his attack power and healing, self-healing. Robin is more tanky, I would say, than both of those, but uh, definitely more immobile, also susceptible to status effects, and just not as tanky as she used to be with all of the abilities that can ignore damage reduction. Like you can put up your Millfloor's wall, and then Shanks can teleport to you. Film Shanks can use his skill 2 and teleport to you and then kill you in one hit. Uh, so, like, because of that, she's definitely dropped down in her utility. But still a very tanky character, especially if you're in leagues where you're not fighting characters like Film Shanks or, like heavy CC characters like, um, what's that guy's name? Pyro Sparrow. Stuff like that. I'd say she can still get away with a lot and be a complete nuisance and very hard to kill. Um, this Robin, this Nami is. Let's see where to put her. Let's say there. Um, that's fair. Yeah. Can't really apply shock to a lot of enemies now, so that does ruin her kit. But she can heal herself. She's very tanky. She can increase the damage of her skill by spamming her Thunderballs, even at nothing, and that's going to give you 100% increased damage on your skill 1. Your skill 1 does massive damage already, and then if they are shock susceptible, then they'll usually die immediately, but even if they don't die immediately, she can do a combo with her skill 2. It spawns a cloud that circles around her and applies shock, like a miniature version of the Big Moms. But if you walk in a specific pattern, you can continuously apply the shock and hit them, and then also heal yourself. Um, and just set up wombo combos where they can't do anything. So still a very good character, very good tanky, and she also cleanses burn and incinerate from your teammates. So if you find your teammates fighting a big mom and they're all burned, and you can go in with your cloud, it'll cleanse that burn, so she'll stop getting healed when they attack her. This Jinbei was very underwhelming. Say like here, fighting a power user, he's decent, can get defense buffs easier than this Kawamatsu, can also apply a stun, do a little more damage than the Kawamatsu, but his normals are bad, his defender traits aren't fantastic, and getting that defense buff is also kind of hard, because if you don't get the stun, it's unlikely for you to get the Arabesque Fisk off, so, um, but we'll put him there for what he is. This Frankie is, I would say better than the Nami. I put Tanky Frankie up here because he's very, and you can tell by the name, Tanky Frankie, very tanky character, a little more so against runners than any other character. Same as Nami, where he can increase his damage of his skill 1, but his is by being hit, I believe. However, he does resist stagger, and when he's fighting solo on base, so you can actually use him as an attacker for that sake. If you see someone fighting alone on base, you can go in there and abuse that. Um, very wide-reaching normals, so they're quite easy to hit and combo off of. And also getting the dodge timing on the third hit is a little difficult, so they usually end up wasting their dodge and still getting knocked down. Skill 2 is multi-hit, does great damage. His skill 1 does massive damage, especially when fully charged, and then also heals you for up to 15,000. So, um, and he also has 80% status ailment reduction time. So, for that sake alone, honestly, Tinky Frankie's got to go like up here. Just a very good character, especially in status ailment heavy era. He can fight alone on base quite well. So yeah. This Luffy is A tier as much as people want to believe that he's fallen off, and he has fallen off, but high defense, easy ways to stack that defense, guaranteed 65% health on his skill 2, if not more. Uh, skill 1 takes away attack buffs, does knockback, he heals on knockback, can abuse crit metals because of his skill 2, great mobility, tanky, and it's just the list goes on and on. Still a very good character, but doesn't have like status ailment immunity or anything like that, so not going to be quite as good as Tanky Frankie. But if your character does not heal off of percent damage, like Gear 5 Luffy, then this Luffy can find his way in to shine, um, and salvage those situations because that does massive damage, in that sense. And then we get same sort of character here. He's going up to S rank though. Same reasons as him. If you're not immune to or don't heal off of percent damage, then his skill 2 he's definitely going to abuse. It's going to heal him, do repeated percent damage to the enemy. Um, he is very, very tanky in terms of damage reduction, more so tanky than both of these guys actually. Has good knockback, heals when he gets knocked back, so getting knocked back for you is not the worst thing in the world, and because you're tanky, it's usually just going to end up healing you more than the damage you take. You get an attack buff off of that, has a pretty decent normal attack combo that also tracks enemies. And yeah, he does very well against like Gear 5 Luffy, even Green Shanks, and has ridiculous knockback attached to his skills as well. So if you pair that with like Worst Generation for your support, A plus character, definitely belongs in S tier. This is one of those instances again where I said, and some of these 2 years later characters are better than others. This Luffy being one of them. Where in here I would put him, not entirely sure. Uh, let's see, do I have another attacker in here? No. We'll just put him here then. Uh, the Luffy's Elephant Gun gives him immunity, and you can use that. You can abuse that to get like free hits and guarantee kills. His Red Rock's not bad. His normals aren't great, but they're not horrible. But the fact that he gets immunity on a skill that actually does good damage is definitely elevating him. So I would say like B tier. Also, once you're finished and have better characters and better options, you can use them as a support um, for your support list and get all of the benefits of having Luffy. So yeah, this NL's dog shit. Where did I put all these characters? This one's actually not as dog shit as them, but also not good. Probably like there. Better than the Whitebeard for sure. And yeah, this kind of was like in the same vein. This boy's dog shit. I'm gonna mark him as fodder. I know he's not fodder. I know there's like somewhere to put him, but I'm just gonna mark him as fodder because he's bad. Um, Katakuri, honestly, with his kill potential now and like attack power and shit, I kind of want to put him in A tier. I just don't know where I want to put him in A tier. Just for the simple fact that alone that he can actually kill enemies. Honestly makes him better than Green Katakuri, but he is a glass cannon, still suffers from the same problem of not being able to get knocked down. But the definition of glass cannon, but has a very easily attainable attack buff, very quick skills now that they buffed him a while ago, and can get those, definitely sneak those kills. But the moment somebody gets their hands on you, you probably got to hold an L. Um, It's Blue Jinbei. I don't want to spend too much time on. He does increase damage to power users, but his skills aren't fantastic. But if you can, it's like the same vein as Katakuri, where if you can sneak the hits, sure. Katakuri's just gonna have a easier time doing it because his skills go off faster since they buffed him, and his normals are better. So he's gonna go down to B tier somewhere, probably like there. Not a great character though. This Kaido is honestly A tier. Uh, Not fantastic. Definitely the weakest of the Kaido units. But he is going to be A tier because he's better than this Big Bomb for the fact that his drink provides him 100% increased attack and defense for a set period of time. It does take away his dodge. However, if you set yourself to where you don't need the dodges, so let's say you knock an enemy down with your normals, you take the drink while they're on the ground, they stand up, you know they're going to do a skill. Um, you are going to be able to tank that skill a lot easier than they'll be able to tank yours because you have 100% increased defense and 100% increased attack. So you can just use your Thunder Baggy or something and then, collide and you make the trade. You get hit, but they also get hit. They probably die, you don't. And then you move on, do about your business, and just kind of set up your skill ones, your skill twos and skill ones. Kind of rotate like that, but actually a fairly decent character still. Um, just the fact that he can't dodge really sucks and takes away from his character potential. This character is bad, but not as bad as these guys. We'll just put him like here. This guy is the same as Kaku, essentially. He was the definition of like pure what his job was. This was a pure runner when he came out. This guy was a pure attacker. Benefited from crit. I think he was the first character to have all the crit bonuses where he like heals and reduces cooldowns, etc. based on crit. You could do like a 7-hit combo, or no, it was a 5-hit combo where you do like 4 normals into your skill 2 and they couldn't dodge it. Um, he ignored defense. Can still do a lot of that um, in terms of like ignoring defense and like fighting with normals. The problem is fighting with normals is just not really a thing anymore. And most other characters do it better because you have limited range. Your skill one's not great because it's stunned, so you're not going to get a lot of those heals, and it's also interruptible, so you can do it. And if they can't get stunned, they can just swing on you and stop you from doing it. So really, just try to sneak skill twos, which is just harder to hit because it's such a long startup and you can get knocked down and when you teleport to the enemy. So he just doesn't do his job fantastic anymore, but back in the day, it was a very good unit. This smoker is trash, but I don't know the entire kit well enough to say how trash, but I know it's better than Luffy, so I'm just going to put him up here with, like these characters. And we'll call it a day there. Same with this Hancock. She has petrification, and that's cool. But if she can't petrify, she can't really do shit. But I know she's better than that Luffy. So this Chopper, honestly, fodder. Don't care what people say. Yeah, he has somewhat kill potential, like if you are fighting in like boss battle or something, or even in League, if you can set up the little reindeer attack or whatever, the snowman attack. Problem is you never have enough time to do those attacks. You're not going to be able to sit and throw snowballs either because they have a very short range comparatively than to like other long range skills. And also like long wind up animations. So I'm just gonna mark him as fodder. He's there for support now. Um, and yeah, that's it. That Frankie is fodder and trash. This new Sabo with his recent buffs is actually pretty good. Um, I would even say, ooh, it really just depends on who you're fighting, but I would say like here. Um, great normals, great, uh, great damage, great, good range on his skills, on his firewall and his fire dragon claw. Um, and I think he heals on while attacking like burned enemies and stuff as well. So good healing tied in with that. And yeah, he said with the recent buffs, definitely a much better character than he used to be. Because he used to be trash. Bullet is good, better version of that Sabo essentially. We're gonna put Bullet in high A tier, just for kill potential alone. Good traits. Um, Trimmer can set up kills very easily. One very hard. His dash skill is very hard to dodge. Um, kind of tanky as well. It's a crazy attack boost. If he trimmers you, it's a GG. It's lights out. So yeah, good character, strong, um, easy kill setups. Yeah, that's all I gotta say for that one. This Rayleigh is like this Rayleigh, it's good if you can perfect dodge, but the reason he's not going to be that high is because his payout for his perfect dodges is not nearly as good as the other Rayleighs. Your job as this Rayleigh is to get the perfect dodge, abuse the 70% attack that you get from it, use your skill 1, get out. And that's it. Don't try to do anything else. Don't stay and try to fight because his normals are bad. His skill 2 doesn't do a ton of damage, but it is good for poke. But essentially, you just want a perfect dodge, get your skill 1, or have your skill 1 perfect dodge, hit the skill 1. If it kills, cool. If it doesn't kill, retreat for a little bit. Try to secure a kill to get the cooldown on your skill 1 again, and then just rinse, repeat. So I'd say for that and the fact that he can one-shot a lot of characters because of that 70% attack boost, and he has naturally high attack, is going to put him in A tier. But again, this is in the hands of a good player. If you are not a good player, you don't find yourself perfect dodging often, and like aren't familiar with timings and stuff. Like if you're a new player, then I would not suggest using this Rayleigh. Because you're gonna have a hard time because of it. This is the same. If you can stun, if you can stun, cool. If you can't stun, not great. Great normals. Um, if you can apply stun, you do get healing and attack benefits from it. So like that's good. The problem is if you can't stun, then you're shit out of luck, and so you're just using skills that are interruptible and not a lot of reward for them. So I'm just gonna put them with Lucci and B tier for the fact that they were good when they came out around the same time. Um, Recent buffs to this Bounce Man, he's okay. He's a one-dimensional character. You want to get the Tremor on your King Kong gun and then get kills. Your normals aren't great. They're pretty slow, fairly easy to kill, but that King Kong gun is actually kind of hard to dodge. So um, put him like here. Just for the fact that that Tremor is actually quite good. Boogie sucks. Buggy, we're just gonna put there. Decent support if you can get your if you can proc your support ability where you heal and apply attack to your enemies or teammates for your teammates, but you have to get multiple hits within a certain time frame. So that's just gonna be your skill one, I believe. And that's like again back to Scratchman Oppo, where you're just holding a skill and then trying to slowly move towards enemies and hoping that they don't hit you or knock you out of it or kill you before you reach them. And that's just unlikely to happen. And in 1v1 scenarios, Buggy is just not fantastic. It's easy to knock you out of that skill, so all you can really do is sneak with your skill 2, since that is long range, and that skill's okay, but not good enough to warrant playing with him. So the Zoro's also bad. About as bad as that Luffy. This one has immunity though, this one does not. It's like Katakuri problem where you don't fall down when you're above a certain percent of health, so you can just get comboed out. But his Ultra Tiger Hunt is a good skill. The other skill, the long range one, does not do a lot of damage, very easy to dodge. Lanawana Luffy is gonna go up to A tier, probably around here. Fact that he can ignore defense is great. Does massive damage to defenders. Has good knockback. Has great normals. And has a skill that teleports and also ignores defense. So um, just said that ignore defense trait on a skill is too good to ignore, especially in the current meta with Gear 5 Luffy. This is fodder. This Drake sucks. Where to put this Drake? Where to put this Drake? Not great. One gimmick, turning into a dinosaur, ignoring defense. Everything else outside of that is bad. He has a 7500 set damage skill that does not do a lot of damage. Clearly, I mean 7500 is just not good percent wise. But if you can turn into the dinosaur, you can get the sneak kills on him. Then like great, because it will do a lot, and you'll probably get a kill or two. And then if you get a kill, it does reset on it. So um, actually, for that reason alone, like sneak potential is definitely elevating him a little bit. We're gonna move him there. But all in all, not a fantastic character. This Kozan's better than most of these characters. I'm gonna move him bottom of A tier for now. May find a better place for you. If you can apply freeze, great. If you can't apply, actually no, I'm not. I'm gonna move you to where Smoker and them are. Same thing. If you can apply freeze, good, because you'll get healing and increased damage off of it. But the Pheasant Beak is actually very hard to hit. It's a very linear move that does collide with walls and uh, baskets and boxes and shit. Um, and then Ice Age is really all he has going for him. And if they can't get frozen, then Ice Age doesn't really do anything for you. You're just walking around being hit while you wait for it to fully charge, or you let it go early and it just doesn't do damage. But you want to save it for moments that you can free someone so that you can heal yourself with it. So, but his normals are decent, and then he has a chance to be to freeze on hit. So he's with these conditionally good characters if you can apply the stuns. Finally working our way through this list. 2 hours later, almost done, sort of. Same thing. I'm just gonna save time, move him there. Same thing. Only good with stun. Koala, good if you can perfect dodge. The payout is not as good as Rayleigh's, however, so she's not going up to A tier. Skills are decent. She does have the karate punch does a knockback, and pretty good damage. And then also Sanji, or not Sanji, but the Sabo skill does apply a tremor, and then she does a kick that also, I believe, does knockback. Could just be a knockdown. Um, but the Sabo skill is very hard to hit, and is very slow in startup, and you can't get knocked down out of it. So, um, but if you can get the perfect dodges, she's pretty decent. She reduces attack and applies confuse. So we are going to move her to. I genuinely think she's better than Bounce Man, just by how quickly her dodge recharges, but it has to be in the right hands. This Luffy is good. I say about as good as these characters. The reason I'm putting Wano Luffy above is, like I said, that ignoring defense and then the increased damage to defenders built into his kit. However, this Luffy can teleport enemies off of base if they're capturing. It also has a recovery block application, which is very good for characters like Usopp, Ratsop, and other characters that have multiple lives or just heal a ton. If you can get that recovery block application, that'd be fantastic. Teleport also does stun. I'm gonna move them up, but you can get defenders off of base so they lose that damage reduction, and you can save games by teleporting enemies into unfavorable positions as the game's about to end. So um, move them up a little more for that reason. This is Paramount War of Moria, I believe. Alright, we'll just put him in B tier and just leave him there. Has some weird Shadow Steel status effect. Does a weird interaction with capturing bases if they try to capture or if you capture while they're afflicted with it. It does 30% of their health in certain intervals, of the flags bar being reduced. But outside of that, he's alright. He's not great. He has good normals though. Virgo's good conditionally. If you're fighting Logia people, he's good. If you're not fighting Logia users, then he's not great. His normals aren't fantastic. His skill 2 actually sucks. It takes super long to charge. Misses a lot. Does not have great tracking. So you end up teleporting in place a lot. You get the buff from it, the attack and defense buff when you fully charge it. Um, but it's like if you're fighting a Logia member or Logia user, then he's good because he heals on every single hit and takes away their dodge. So he was designed to fight Akainu, but he couldn't even do that well, so he actually just ended up being good to fight like Smoker and Sabo and stuff. But there aren't a lot of Logia users these days, so it's just fallen off. His entire kit was centered around that. Darkstorm is good. Has a like guaranteed kill 2 hit setup, or skill 1, skill 2. Transfers his attack boost to whoever comes after him, which is very good. You get that attack boost. You can get him up to 30% from hitting your skill 1. Skill 1 is very hard to dodge, and you don't actually have to get the shock to get the attack boost. You just have to hit the skill 1. Very good normals too, and yeah. Um, First 90 seconds also gets damage boost. So he's definitely a great point character to use, and then transfer that attack boost to a better character afterwards, and then abuse that. Okiku, I would honestly say, is like Koala, around the same vein. Last 60 seconds of the match better because you get a permanent attack boost when you have your Mask of the Demon on. Great, not great normals. Normals are okay. It's a 3-hit combo, but it's fairly quick. Has good travel distance on it. I do like both of her skills quite a bit. They're very quick, very easy to hit. One's multi-hit as well, so she has decent damage in that sense. but also very squishy and doesn't have attack boosts that you can get outside of the last 60 seconds. So the fact that her kit is tied into the last 60 seconds of the match um, is bad. If it's like strictly last 60 seconds of the match, Okiku, I put her up here because she has like a 50% or 100% cooldown reduction on her skills. But since it is conditional, I'm going to move her down to B tier just as an overall. Izo is great, so I'm going to move him up to like A tier. Uh, yeah. Um, if left unchecked, one of the most annoying characters in the game. Has fantastic damage on his normals, multi-hit, very long range on all of his attacks. Best boss battle character by far, and can like crazy one-shot potential if you get too close and he uses a skill too, and then multiple bullets hit you. Problem is if people get close to you, that is an L you got to take again. Um, so it's just one of those characters. Don't leave him unchecked if you see him. Try to kill him as fast as you can, make your life easier, and it won't be too hard to kill him when you're up close to him. But if he's far away supporting his team, one of the most annoying characters in the game. Uh, she's up here somewhere. So I don't want to think about it too much. I am spending way too much time on this. Already 2 hours, 10 minutes. Um, maybe here. It's like the same thing. Left unchecked, kind of annoying. She can move with her normals. She can um, apply edit to you, which makes you unable to move, and then she can continue to combo you from there, and then she can reapply Tremor with the Sanji skill, and then also retreat from it. So if left unchecked, very annoying character, has good damage. All you have to do is just really chasing her is actually kind of hard now too because of the Sanji retreat, and then you want to dodge her normal so they aren't just taking hits on the way to her. Um, but you could also just abuse the fact that she's using her normal by using a skill. So it's like a double-edged sword. The Shanks, we're finally going up to SS with their most recent buffs. The Shanks is very very good. Um, the fastest mobility of any like non-runner character, and even amongst some runners, just with his normal three-hit chain. Um, his skill 2 comes out very, very quickly now, and has fantastic range on it. Great kill power. He can get a 100% stackable kill buff by, I think it's hitting his abilities now, or it could be getting kills. I know it used to be getting kills, but it could, I think it may have changed to just hitting the abilities. Skill 1 is a great counter that heals him, does massive damage, applies knockback, has good range, and goes off very quickly as well. And yeah, with the added dimension of the mobility and his normal attacks, they're making those better. It actually changes how Shanks was played. So where it used to be people would just slowly throw out a skill 2, you get the free dodge on it, and then they dash to you, and then they use their skill 1, their counter. Now they don't actually have to do the dodge to you. They can just throw out the skill 2, force your dodge, and then just do normal attack chains to reach you. And then most of the time you actually end up getting hit. And if you get hit, you have to use your dodge because if you don't, then they can just continue their combo. Um, and then they can just chase you down with it. So like getting away from the character is impossible. He has status effect, immunity after I can't remember what the setting condition is, but it's like after getting knocked down or after having a status effect applied to him, when it wears off, he gets like 10 seconds of status effect immunity. So um, very very good character now. So yeah, that'll be our first SS character. Uh, Kuja Pirates. 1 sec. Sorry about that. I just sneeze. Hancock. This one. She has mobility in her normals. So if you can apply petrification, that's great. She does good damage. If you get petrified in front of her, you just GG for you. But it's just she's not fantastic. She's one of those characters. I'll put him like bottom of A tier. 'Cause she has like the same kill potential as Katakuri, but hers is tied into like petrify. But if you get petrified in front of her, you are dead. So I'm gonna put her at bottom of A tier just because I think she's better than these characters and she has better mobility while attacking. Same as Perona does. So Lucci, A tier. Where at in A tier though? Hot take, but like here. Simple fact that he can get stackable attack boosts by just landing attacks. He has fantastic mobility. He has four skills. Um, well, really, he only has two skills. One of those like resets when he switches, but um, his two skills, but four different applications of them. He can be an attacker or a runner. He does great damage. He has a teleport skill that if you are immune or if you're susceptible to stun, you'll probably die in one hit. If you're not susceptible to stun, it still does good damage to you. He has a knockback. Um, the list goes on and on, but I mean, he's a good character. Multi hits as well. So yeah, uh, this is for sure my bias. If anyone's ever run into me in League, they know I almost exclusively play Whitebeard. I usually place rank 1 Whitebeard in any season that I'm actively playing the game. Um, but it is the only EX non-EX character. He has stackable attack boost up to 75%, which is the highest amongst non-EX characters. In addition to that, he can stack his defense up to 50% by his teammates or him getting kills. His attack boost stacks with just him landing skill 1. He has massive healing when he applies Tremor. He applies Tremor on his normals. He resists stagger while he's charging his Tremor. It's a very long range skill. And it being a long time charge, you can set it up to essentially get guaranteed Tremors if you know who you're fighting. Because they don't know when you're going to release it, because you don't have to release early, you don't have to release at full charge either. You can release somewhere in the middle after they've used their dodge. Um, and yeah, it's once you get that attack buff and that defense buff rolling, like Whitebeard is an absolute menace. Does crazy damage, takes very little damage, can fight on base with teammates and get benefits from it because he resists stagger and down. And the fact that now he can now heal himself as easily as he does, and also reduce the cooldown of his tremor when attacking is amazing. Actually, personally, I would put him above Odin, um, just for the simple fact that he can kill easier. He can one-shot Shanks, Roger, Odin, essentially one-shot anybody in the game, but he does 50% increased damage to Roger and EX Roger Pirates. Or ex Roger Pirates, and so he has winning matchups amongst a lot of the EXs in the game. Um, and again, it's just like in the right hands. So I personally think that Whitebeard is one of the better characters in the game. I would, if this is my own personal bias, I would put him like top of S tier. I am gonna go by what's easier to play for other characters, however, or for most characters, however. Actually, no, I'm not. Nah, I'm gonna put him above S tier because this is a winning matchup as well. He beats every single one of these characters. Um, he, if Blackbeard used Black Hole, that's the only preventative he has, right? So if Black Hole goes off first and you manage to dodge it, which is fairly easy to dodge, everything you do from that point for Whitebeard is winning. Because you can charge in his face with Tremor, and he can't do anything about it. He can try to vortex you, and you just let go while you're getting pulled, and then he's Tremored. You heal back to full health. You can literally Tremor combo him and kill him. Um, and if you have attack buffs going, then you're probably just kill him in or like one normal combo. Um, Same thing with Yamato. The only thing that she has for you is her charge skill. And you manage to dodge that. You can fight her, and then the moment that she goes for her counter, you can just start charging your tremor in front of her face. Her counter will go off because it wasn't procced, so it doesn't have knockback to it. You let go of the tremor, and then you just swing on her and get all of your health back, and then also keep her stun locked for as long as you want. I said Odin's a one shot. Um, Kid's the same thing. You dodge one of his skills, get a perfect dodge, just charge Tremor at that point. Tremor him, even if his screws are going off and hitting you, you can just swing on him and heal it, heal through all of it. And yeah, this is probably the only like that's his worst matchup because it's hard to catch Usopp. But I would say Whitebeard top of S just for the simple fact that he can one-shot Shanks. He can one-shot even Luffy because he gets that attack buff that outweighs Luffy's defense buffs. Um, a very balanced character in terms of he has like one of the highest health pools in the game, and then also a very balanced attack and defense stat as well. So he gets the tankiness of a defender with the full-on attack of an EX attacker. So yeah, I'm gonna throw him top of S tier. That's my bias, but I would understand if people place him lower. This guy is like there. No, he's not as good as a Luffy, but I'd say like there. He ignores damage reduction and ignores defense on both of his skills. It's just getting in and getting those skills off without dying is just going to be difficult. But he can fight on base solo, which is good. Pretty slow normals, but if you're a solo on base, then you are resisting stagger and going through those, and you get an attack buff after you fall down and get confused. So skills are very easy to dodge, however, and that's his biggest fault. But if they don't dodge the skills, they do take damage, massive damage, or just flat out die, which is good. This Sabo is about as good as a Sabo, a little better, just because he can resist status ailments. If you have your fire form on, there are a lot of skills and traits that take that fire form away, however, in the game now, and that's definitely detrimental to this character's placing. But he's still a good character. They did give him some buffs. He heals a ton if you're fighting someone that is set aflame. He has fantastic damage reduction, good range on his skills, a very quick combo, and also has the shortest downtime in the game while maintaining the same invincibility time as every other character. So if you get knocked down with him while he's in fire form, he gets up very quickly and you can continue your attacking while invincible at the start. So yeah, good character. Finds his way back into the meta every meta shift somehow. This character is along the same vein as this character, where if you have hockey form on, he's great. However, since a lot of people can take hockey form away, he's just fallen off because if you don't have the hockey form, you lose a lot of crit damage. You also lose a lot of crit percentage. But you can get it back fairly quickly. A skill one is very quick off cooldown anyway. But also, if you have the correct crit metals on, you heal with every crit, and you also reduce the cooldown on the skill one anyway. Skill 2 is ultra long range, so you can't get sneaks with it. And he has a decent enough combo. Honestly, I would just suggest doing the first hit of the combo, um, and only doing the second hit if you have them staggered, where you do the run, but never do the full hit of the combo because he charges in a straight line, and sometimes it like displaces you and puts your back to the enemy, so it takes longer and it's harder for you to turn around. And that usually ends up messing it, so you end up swinging at air. So just do the first hit of the combo and then like bait their dodges, and then after that you've baited the dodge, if you manage to hit them and stagger them, then you can continue the full combo and then get that multi-hit for your crits. Pell is like here. It's basically Katakuri. He's a glass cannon. Skill 2 is good for sneaking, good mobility on it. Skill 1's good if you are susceptible to like stun or can or not if you don't resist stagger. But you can get knocked out of it very easily these days, or just outright punished with status effects like Parasparrow and stuff. Um, but your skill 2, he does get easily stackable attack boost, good mobility, great normals, very, very high damage, low defense, however. So just a glass cannon, same as Katakuri. I'd say probably better than Katakuri, though. Roger, everybody knows, going up to S rank. Um, he's always going to be good. Probably always going to be here. Like, this is probably the lowest he'll ever be in any tier list. His resistance to stagger and his ability to just literally just tap normals through everything and get kills off of it is just always going to be too good to ignore. Skill 1's great, of course, and that gives him an attack boost. Skill 2 is phenomenal. Um, and except you can get knocked out of it, but you do take reduced damage, 70% reduced damage. Compile the damage and then apply it back when you let go. and you can charge it forever. So it's very hard to get the timing down correctly if you aren't a brain dead idiot who just like taps it and lets go immediately. Um, but yeah, set those normals, being good as they are, and then him healing for any time he takes damage above 30% of his health makes him a little more tanky than he should be. Um, and I know I'm gonna get heat for putting Whitebeard above Roger, right? But this is a winning matchup for Whitebeard against Roger, and just more versatility, more self healing. So general survivability and that defense buff. The only thing Roger really has going for him over that is the fact that he's immune to stun, whereas Whitebeard is not status immune at all. So, but this is a winning matchup because your skill one won't kill him, Whitebeard in one hit. Like just on spawn, right? Uh, your skill one won't kill Whitebeard in one hit. Whitebeard skill one will kill Roger in one hit. It actually takes two. It takes like two divine departures, like raw for you to kill me, so you won't get those back to back. Um, and yeah, I don't know. Kainu's top S tier. Putting him above Whitebeard because under no circumstances is that a winning matchup whatsoever. Akainu beats, say, all of these characters fairly easily um, because none of these characters have the capacity to take away your lava state. Um, and as such, they have no real way of dealing with you. Um, every matchup in the game, like I said, as a Whitebeard main, I always like to, like see how I fare against every character in the game, and every single character in the game I can definitely kill except for Akainu. If I find an Akainu one-on-one, I just run away. And that's all I can do. All I can do is just wait until someone else does the work for me, or charge a trimmer from a mile away and pray that it hits, and then I can come in and get a sneak. But under no circumstances should that be a winning matchup, and thus I'm going to put a Kainu top of S tier. The reason he's not in SS is because his kit is not as good as before with all of the traits and abilities that can remove that lava state from him. Thus, underutilizing his kit. However, with the Akainu, the reason he still stays so high is because even if the lava state taken away, he still has very useful abilities. He has the fastest recharging dodge alongside like Koala and Rayleigh, people that utilize perfect dodge. He leaves behind a puddle that applies the magma or incinerate to enemies. Incinerate is the strongest ticking dot damage if it does 32% of a character's health if they don't have any ways to mitigate it, which is insane. You run into a little puddle and then you lose 32% health because of it. It also gives him an attack boost through that, and the list goes on. Hellhound does good damage, great damage, even especially if he has an attack boost, and also has a very extended hitbox, like I was saying about King Cobra. Um, but also when you attack Akainu when he's in Hellhound, um, it pushes his character model back, and so you end up pushing the Hellhound model back as well, and then you end up getting hit from like behind him and a bunch of other dumb shit. So top S tier for sure. Always going to be a good character. Can definitely abuse characters that aren't designed to fight him or like characters that came out after his meta. This law is just a better version of this Luffy, essentially. They literally have the same thing, a dash recovery block, except his actually moves his character, whereas his doesn't. He has better normals. Um, your bubble, your skill 2 shambles. Um, if you're fighting inside of that bubble, you have advantage on most characters. You also can't be one shot, so it takes you down to 1 HP. Still vulnerable to status effects, however. However, you can recover a lot of health since you're doing multi-hits per attack. You always have a chance to apply that recovery block, and then when you apply recovery block, you reduce the cooldown of the skill itself while also healing yourself. So, very good brawler in under certain scenarios, but can be also very easily killed. Doflamingo, it's like a shield character, right? He's better than Sugar. Better than her. Better than him. Better than him. Better than him. Probably not as better than Bullet. I would say like there is fair. Um, Back in the old meta of not being able to get through a shield so easily, there used to be a time where you'd see four Doflamingos and then you would just drop your phone and give up. Um, but he's not a bad character whatsoever. He's still maintained his kill power. Still maintained his kill power. Can easily recharge that shield, so even though it gets eradicated quite easily these days, you can get it back very easily just by hitting your skills or your normal attacks. Skill 2 is a good sneak tool. Um, Pop it from a distance, does great damage to enemies on base. He has good damage increase to kind of ignore damage reduction in a lot of scenarios. Also, below 50% health, he reduce or ignores status effects applied to him, so you don't have to worry about like being shocked or incinerated or anything like that. And then, in addition to all that, he does have two chances at life, so get incapacitated once, you come back, and so you have to kill him twice, and then usually that means dealing with the shield twice. And if you don't have like quickly recharging skills or skills that go through that, then it can just be quite annoying. But also good support for your team by having that shield as often as you have it. Good runner, goes invisible, has a durability shield, um, like theirs. Only reason I'm not putting him with Reiju because they do the same things. He can go invisible and capture flags, however, which is better for him. She, however, can support your teammates more, whereas he's a very linear character where he just has to capture flags because his fighting capabilities are not there. Vista is one of my favorite characters in the game to play with. Along the same veins of Rayleigh, if you are good at perfect dodges, he's amazing. Has a great counter, does crazy damage. I don't know how he's a runner, but since he is a runner, can also capture flags. That's good for him. Can provide attack and defense boost to your team with your counter as well. And has crazy good healing off of that and cooldown reduction to a skill 1 inherent without medals. So, like, just fantastic character though, if you are good with dodges. Uh, this Kaido's S tier, but like there. Only because he can charge bases to 150%. No, I'd have to put him up here. Only because he can charge bases to 150% and can abuse his massive defense boosts that he gets. So like lesser characters can't really fight him once he gets that defense boost on, and then he also ignores status effects when he's fighting on base, and gets stagger resistance as well. But he is a very straightforward character in terms of what he can do. So in terms of skills, some of the easiest skills in the game to dodge. He can dodge all of his skills in reaction. However, he can help his teammates from any place on the map as long as they're fighting on bases that he is that you're currently protecting. So um, good character. It's just if you run into an Odin, you're probably going to lose that fight. If you run into a Roger, you're going to lose that fight. If you run into a Shanks, you're going to lose that fight. If you run into a Whitebeard, you should lose that fight. Um, there are just a lot of characters, especially in this bracket, that just outright beat Kaido. And yeah, so I don't know, like high S tier for sure. Um, I would probably say, I don't know, just for the fact that, like, again, he can charge a base 150%. That makes it harder for the enemy team to win. It stalls them in that sense. But his like lack of mobility and lack of kill power. I would say lack of kill power. If you can get a fully charged blast burst off, it does do damage, but it's just so easy to dodge that skill, and you can hear it from a mile away. So Queen sucks. We're just gonna put him there. He can turn into a dinosaur. He does knockbacks, and he can give himself immunity to status effects by drinking and healing himself a little bit. But all he is literally just a stall character. Like you just want to do Brachio Bomber, and you can't even do that under like bridges and shit. So not great. This judge is A tier. He has everything that the shield defenders has going for him, but just in the form of Reiju. And she serves as like a secondary attacker. She reduces the enemy cooldowns when she hits with her Pink Hornet. She can tank attacks for you. You can get recharge on her very easily and use her in multiple ways. You can set her off base so that she's just constantly attacking the base that you're doing or defending, and he's very tanky, so he's gonna defend that base fairly well. And then they'll just keep getting hit by her, or you can just put her in front of you and then let her shoot and then take hits for you while in addition to also attacking the enemy. But she's gonna go away quicker in that scenario since she's being hit more often. But still a very good character. Um, yeah, put him there. Jozu kind of sucks now, but doesn't suck enough to warrant being placed too low. Uh, he's better than Garb. So like there, if you can get Diamond Form off, he's amazing because you're immune to status effects, get all of your damage reduction, etc. If Diamond Form gets taken away from you, which it does quite often, especially with again current meta, um, then all of your kit is mostly gone, and then you're just a very slow character with very slow normals and a decent skill one that does damage and removes attack buffs. But like the difference between him and Akainu, or Akainu's kit without lava is still good. Jozu's kit without diamond is not good. But he does have good healing. So yeah, that's it. This character is bad. Um, Gimmick character, you want to knock them off of base by putting your little bounce flower or whatever in the middle of the base so that they literally can't capture it. And it's in constantly renewing hitbox, so even if they like perfect dodge it and they stay on the middle of the flag, they will get knocked out of it later. But he's very squishy, has bad normals, one decent range skill 2, but his entire kit is just focused around bouncing enemies off of bases on skill 1. So, but when you die, the flower goes away and then you're useless. Whoops. Yeah, fodder. No, this Luffy is probably SS tier. Um, Beats mostly every character down here. Has immunity in 2 forms. Can attack and run. Has some of the most annoying combos in the game with the Bounce Man. The Snake Man hits behind. Once you get the attack buff, the Snake Man transformation is a menace because it's harder to dodge, comes out quicker, and then also hits in a more area of effect. Um, because of how scared you are of Bounce Man, usually you'll let him walk up on you and just start hitting you with normal combos, which also increases his attack anyway, and then you dodge because you don't want to get normal combo to death, and then he just Bounce Mans you and kills you anyway, and he's invincible while he's doing it. Immune to status effects while he's at full health, so you can't just like outright punish him for it, and then of course applies the stuns and the one hit with the reapplication of skill 2 when he's transformed. So for that reason alone, like he's so versatile, and in the right hands can be an absolute menace and hard to kill. So I'm gonna go SS on that one. Shuri is good if you're killing people on base, and that is that entire character's kit. So we're gonna, if they're on base, cool. If not, like they're better than these characters, but not great. This character is literally a one-trick pony, but the one trick is good enough to warrant him a place in A tier. Um, Say he's better than these glass cannons, so like there. Um, your rockets, his rocket move will one-shot any character in the entire game. Some reason hits multiple times, even if you perfect dodge it. I've can't name the or list the amount of times that I've gotten the perfect dodge bubble on my character, the perfect dodge text on my screen, and then just went from full health to 0 because like 3 of the rockets still hit me somehow. So that is his one trick. He does get stackable attack buffs for killing enemies, and yeah, but his normals are eh. His skill 2, I believe, is the series of punches or whatever, and you can just get knocked out of that. So also not great. Good for one-on-one scenarios if you're fighting someone that you know is susceptible to stun, but really all you really want to do with this character is kind of sit back and then throw rockets at enemies, and then wait until your rockets come back. But like I said, one trick pony. Usually I put these guys down in B tier, but his one trick is so effective that we're gonna throw him up in the A tier for it. I'd actually honestly say like there. Burgess is dog shit. Uh, how dog shit is he? Like there. Has a counter that literally just heals himself and gives him resistance to stagger, but no range on any of his skills, and very easy to dodge, and has no knockdown, and has the longest normal hit combo in the world. So if you're trying to knock down an enemy, you have to finish the entire combo, otherwise you just waste time, and it takes so long that it's just worthless. So Jack, honestly, we're putting an S tier. Character does it all, man. Heals himself, has a great mammoth form, makes them immune to status effects, can charge around the map, does crazy knockback, does fantastic damage on multi-hit normals. Again, all heals them. Skill 1's amazing. Don't know what else to say about him. Uh, yeah, S tier for sure. Leave him there. Ulti is S tier as well. These are interchangeable, honestly. I think she's literally good for the same reasons as Jack. Honestly, I'm gonna put her a little higher. She does better against attackers, so she can outright like beat Jack and a lot of other attackers in the game. Great mobility in her skill 2 or skill 1. Makes her immune to knockback and knockdown, and heals her when she's hitting attackers. She can stun at the end of her combo, so she can get um, crazy long combo chains off of that, and it wouldn't even last that long because she has stackable attack buffs that she gets from fighting attackers. So, in an attacker meta, ulti is amazing, good one-shot potential as well. So, Page 1 is A tier, he's not S tier. I put him here. Same mobility as actually a little less mobility than Tanky Frankie, but he can heal himself with the skill 2 a lot more consistently since it's guaranteed. You don't have to hit enemies for it. Provides attack buffs to you and teammates, and also heals, and also generally more tanky on base. Very, very hard to kill unless you have status effect applications, push them off base, or if you get hit with like a stray Film Red Shank skill 2. But on base, phenomenal character. The reasons these characters are like higher than him is because their potential to win games, right? So like I said, runners get that natural elevation because runners can capture flags at the end of the game faster and divert enemy attention, whereas defenders are, especially towards like end game, is what do I have? What can I defend? And so then you just position yourself to be an anchor and you try not to die, but there's no guarantee that you won't die. So Parasparrow's S tier easy, high S tier even. Um, I'd say there. Just a higher one-shot potential with Roger, and a lot of status effect immunity is preventing him from being higher, but um, Parasparrow absolutely beats Roger. Uh, but Roger just has that one-shot potential and so many more characters than Parasparrow does, and his ability to like fight in a brawl. But this is the most annoying status effect in the entire game. Not only does it freeze you and heal him when he hits you, but it also uh, doesn't go away when you get knocked down or knocked back even. So you are literally just stuck in candy form until the timer wears off, and by you then he usually resets it. So you get turned into candy once, you end up dying for it. And he has an Iron Maiden, which acts as a shield, and also does guaranteed 50% of your health. Um, and the Candy Slug is like crazy in terms of range and width, and so it's just very easy to get turned into candy again if you're susceptible to status effects. So, um, most annoying status effect character in the game. Nightmares about that character. Uh, Tessero is like the same vein as Parasparrow, honestly. Um, I think Gold and Candy are quite literally the same thing in this game. He has an easier time applying it, so Tessero is going to fall down a bit. But If you hit him too hard, he turned into gold. If he hits you with a skill 2 or skill 1, either of the two, there's a chance of you getting turned into gold. Same with his normal combos. So like quite literally the same character, just easier application here. And but this guy does have a counter or a shield that dual functions as a counter as well because it blocks damage and then also um, has a follow-up attack. So and then we have the pinnacle of Bounty Fest characters that are way too good. And Uta is one of those. She has the durability shield that these guys have. She has ways to recharge it, which is just hitting her skill 1. She does crazy damage. She has phenomenal crit. Does like increase crit when her teammates die or something. I can't remember what it is. Her skill 1, she heals off of it when she's attacking enemies. She has a combo that literally never puts you on the ground. So if she just does the first 2 hits of her combo, she can do that forever. Um, and you'll never go down, and so you have no choice but to sit there and get hit and constantly keep dodging out of it, and then usually she just skill ones you again after that and finishes it. So, um, amazing, amazing character. Way too good, honestly. I almost even want to put her in SS. Um, honestly, yeah, no, I have to put her in SS. I can't justify not. The durability shield is just it's too good, and just her kit in general. This Luffy's not bad. It's like the best 3-star character. I'm just gonna put him there. Z is SS. Not a lot of people play with him anymore. Again, it's like the same thing as a kind of right, same problem where you can get your form taken off. But he has 2 abuses of invincibility. One is that massive skill that he's higher than that. Skill that does like 80%, 70% of your health, like, and it goes through walls and has crazy range on it. Very, very, very tanky. Very good heals when he's knocking enemies back off point. The 2-hit knockback combo that you can't really dodge out of because if you dodge during the knockback, he just does it again. It's that invincibility out the wazoo. Good range on his skills. Good damage. Like yeah, he's SS for sure. Yeah, I'll just leave him there. S tier runner. I said if I put her top of A tier just for her running capabilities alone, then I have to put Marco here because he's tankier, has more health, can heal teammates, immune to status effects, can capture like Odin. Um, I would say like here because the only thing that's different between these 2 characters is he heals more, um, has a slower time getting around the map. He can actually kill. He cannot actually kill. The fact that he can't kill is definitely what limits him. His normals are okay, not great, because they miss quite often, but like he has decent enough damage. But his skill 1 is absolute dog shit, and that's what's really hindering him from being better in this tier list. But I think his just capabilities as a runner alone definitely keep him in S tier for how easily he can capture bases. And yeah, she's A tier. Say like there. Petrify is great. Good, easily capture bases. Gets defense buffs if you hit Petrify on enemies that can't be petrified. It's like 70%, so can be very tanky, harder to kill. Can just outright run through a lot of things and is immune to status effects while she's running. Um, but yeah, I'd say like A tier. Uh, Pretty good character. Same vein as this character. I'm just gonna put him there too. Came around the same time. Same shit. Good character against EX or X Roger Pirates and Roger Pirates. I don't really have too much else to say about him. He can give a speed boost like Odin. It's just and his attacks are quite good, but he just doesn't have that same like capture immunity as a lot of his characters have. So it's like easier to keep track of him, easier to get kills on him. Skills are pretty easy to dodge. Um, but I mean, like he has great normals and takes away dodges, so For that reason alone, I'm gonna put him like higher, put him like there. She can go invisible and do all the same shit that Silvermask does, except when she starts capturing, for some reason, she's not invisible anymore, so not as good as Silvermask in that sense. But just in terms of like being a good runner, she's still a good runner. Probably like Hirsch then. She can apply shock and all that good shit. But just being invisible and being able to run around the map is quite a nuisance, so that's why it's like A tier runners. This chopper is dog shit. I'm just gonna put him there. Don't use him. He's not good. I know he's better than there, but we'll put him there. But not good. Don't use him. Ben Beckham, good defender. Same stuff as Frankie in terms of status element reduction time. So can't really hit him with status effects. He has a great status element to apply, which is Intimidate. Makes it so enemies can't attack. Heals on knockback. Has a very strong skill 1 that does increase damage against intimidated enemies, but also goes through walls, is ultra long range, so you can support your team from a distance. Does fantastic damage outside of that. Very good reaching normal combo chain that does knock back at the end. That also heals him, and just generally tanky as well. So I think how his ease of access for healing versus Frankie's, which is all tied to a skill 1, whereas he can just constantly heals, makes him better. Same for because his healing is tied to a skill. And then also just his long range support with his skill 1, and then also that intimidate support is just very good. So you already know where we're going with here, boys. We're going SS. Most annoying character in the game. Not the most annoying character in the game anymore, but was the most annoying character of the game. Was absolutely meta defying upon release. And so like a lot of these characters on release, they were like, ah man, playing this game really sucks, but it's we found utility in like a lot of these older characters. So like for example, Roger came out and we're like, okay, they released Kid and Law that made those characters great. We went through and found like red characters that did well against Roger. Like there was a return of Blackbeards, Kinemon was out there, Garp came out, um, Red Katakuri found some use, and Sugar and a bunch of other these characters that like aren't EX units, but could still like do things. And then Akainu came out, and then we started playing with the Vistas, and we see the Rayleighs come out. A lot of these blue characters. Doflamingo fucking was worse than Akainu upon release. Tanky Frankie had his time to shine, like when Akainu came out, and we're like, oh shit, Tanky Frankie does really well, yada yada. And then the Shanks came out, and all of this shit was invalidated. There was nobody on this entire roster that was saving you from the fucking wrath of this character. All you could do was just hope and pray you had better Shanks on your team. You could play with Akainu. You could try to get one shots with Roger, and that was it. Um, because this is even prior to Whitebeard getting his additional buff. Oh yeah, and then Ratsop. But Ratsop didn't even do that well. Yeah, Uta was our savior for that as far as like the Bounty Fest characters go. But this, I mean, it's still to this day is a fucking menace. Easier to fight now that you can take his form off for a lot of characters, with a lot of characters, but by no means an easy time at all, just because of his skill 2 and how much damage it does, how much damage he does in general. How easy it is for him to get the hockey state, him reducing your max health when he hits you, like he has it all, man. Absolutely despise that character. His character was designed to counter him, but does such a poor job of it that he actually ended up worse than just the old Usopp. Um, we're just gonna throw him down here somewhere. I don't even think he's that good. Like there, just because he has long range and good long range support, but his skill 1 sucks. And he sucks as a whole, which is crazy because he's an A tier. So that really lets you know like a lot of these characters aren't great, but just like in terms of like pure potential and like what he can do, I guess A tier is where I have to place him, but he's not great. Yasop's honestly about the same. Um, say like there, just his recovery block is his defining feature, and his perfect dodges are good, and that's about it. But he doesn't have like the tankiness to stay on base and fight a lot of people. Um, and him being a ranged normal attack character makes it so close range encounters are hugely detrimental to him. So you want to be like long range support, sort of like Ben Beckham, but yours collides with boxes, whereas his goes through walls. So your skill 2, while you have to sit there and charge it forever, whereas his is instant, doesn't even give you the same payout as that. So all you're doing with this character is really just perfect dodging. So if you're gonna play a perfect dodge character, you might as well play Rayleigh and get the mobility and ability to capture flags, because you're just defending base with perfect dodges, and that's just not great. This Viper is like bottom B tier, sure. I'm just gonna leave him there. He has long range. He can move kind of quick, but he's eh. This guy was actually fairly decent against Shanks, but it was still kind of hard to fight. He was the only character that could take away that red hockey state upon release, so you were really dependent on having good Diamantes, but nobody played Diamante except for me. Um, but just in terms of versatility for his kit, I would say like here, he has a good counter, good knockback, heals on knockback, gets healed when he gets knocked back, can remove hockey states, actually, so the fact that he can remove like hockey state and stuff when he knocks back enemies makes him inherently better than a lot of these characters. Good range on his normals, and he can mix up what he's going to do. So I would have to place him there next to Diamante. Tribal S rank, great defender. Um, can ignore damage when he's above. Was it like 60% health or something like that? I can't remember the exact health percentage, maybe 50. But he can attacks face through him at like a 60% chance prior to having like additional medals on. And so he can pull runners away from bases with his normal attacks, also with his skill 1. Skill 2 leaves like a million puddles on the ground that enemies have to dodge through or get hit by, and then applies a massive slow. Um, a fairly decent normal attack combo, and just the fact that you can go through or attacks phase through you makes fighting him very very annoying when he's at high health. And then he also gets a lot of his health back plus defense buff whenever a teammate dies. So um, I'd say his kill potential is what's keeping him from being as good as this kid or this yeah kid, but he's definitely S tier, and I would say more universally versatile than these, and like does such a good job at his role that he belongs in S tier for sure. Spellamy, I have no idea what he does. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't playing the game when he came out. I know he can capture flags because he's a runner, and yeah, that's about it. But I don't know if he was good at it. I'm just gonna put him down here with like the mobility runner characters that I had listed, uh, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. People misuse this character a lot. She's actually quite good. Um, her Rock Garden, if you place it on an enemy that's on the ground, especially with like if you're abusing Bounty Rush glitches or like the shit that Bandai ignores where you knock an enemy down and then the character model's still standing up. If they're still standing up, they're still everything that you do on that character still registers as a hit, so you can place Rock Garden on them. It'll take away their dodges, and then when they stand up they can't dodge out of it, and then it just drains their health, and also slows them, so it's hard for them to walk away. So shit like that nobody actually does, makes her better than people give her credit for. But I would definitely say A tier. She has good potential as a runner as well, so I'm gonna leave her there. But I don't play the character enough for me to know. Same with him. He does shit people don't actually realize he does. He's untargetable with normals during his thing. His normal attacks do a lot of damage when he's in smokescreen state, but his normals do a ton of damage. The Shadow Clone is a good like supporting long range skill, and then people just have to chase you when he has retreating normals. So like chasing him is beneficial to him because he can just attack you the entire time and you can't do anything about it. Um, well, I mean you can use your dodge, but um, just a nuisance, and good support. And so for that reason, it's like the same as Ezo, right? Where like You don't want to ignore him because he does increase normal attack damage. So you have to kill him, but like once you close in on him, it's lights out for him. Top of S tier for sure. Um, that's honestly want to kind of put him in SS just for his running potential alone, but yeah, top S tier for sure. King is phenomenal. See, it's hard for me to put Uta up here and then not have like King up here, but if I put King up here, I feel like I have to put a Kainu up there, and I don't want to put a Kainu up there. Um, oh boy, best runner in the game. I gotta give him his credit. Best runner in the game, so I'm gonna move a Kainu bottom. No, he's not SS. Best runner in the game. His skill 2 travels across the map so fucking quickly that it's impossible to do anything. If he wants to capture the middle base for any map and you don't have a king on your team, you've lost that base, and then that sets up for their defenders to get to it and defend it. And King's gone by the time that you finish. He also has a short capture animation, so you can't apply normal like timings for hitting abuse or hitting him with a skill afterwards, as you would for other characters, because then you can just dodge out of it in time. His teleport is great. Applies Tremor, does guaranteed 50% health. Um, Capturing reduces the cooldown time of his skill 2. Heals him. He takes away Hockey State, or not Hockey State, but he takes away any like status affliction to self when you hit him. So people like Akainu, which is why he's better, lose their lava state on that, and then he can just get to the other complete other side of the map within like 2 seconds. And then in addition to that, if he flies through you, it usually hits 2 times, and it does so much damage that you probably die. It also has knockback. He ignores stagger when fighting on base alone, so if he's fighting you, he can just push you off of base with his normal attack combos and then capture, and then you have to hit him 4 times before you can even affect him while he's capturing a base, and he captures very, very quickly. So you gotta give credit where credit's due. He's the best runner in the game. Not the best runner in the game, but the best like pure runner in the game. SS. This guy came out with Odyssey. I'm just gonna put him here. He sucks. But yeah, it's just better, slightly better Drake. And I say slightly, and I mean slightly. So I'm just put him here with Bellamy and like them. Good traits to help with like Beast Pirates, Animal Kingdom Pirates, so like Kaidos and shit. But just not phenomenal. Like not a great character. This guy's actually good, and people don't realize that as well. So again, I'm gonna put him in that same tier of well, no, I would have to give him more credit than that. He's actually better than those characters. Probably around here with Sugar then. Yeah, he actually heals when you apply status effects to him. No, I would say even better than them. Heals when you apply status effects to him. He has one long range skill as a defender. He removes attack bonuses. Um, Removes attack bonuses at the end of his combo. Um, it's a defense bonus when you apply status effects to him. Has a chargeable skill 1 in terms of damage output. When you attack enemies, he has a multi-hit combo, and then his skill 1 heals him for like massive damage and also does massive damage, so you can one-shot a lot of characters with it as well. So great defender, can't fight Shanks, and that's what's like keeping him down here. But like as a defender, in terms of like you can fight Big Mom very very easily. You can actually beat like he has a winning matchup against Big Mom, which is crazy. So yeah, speaking of Big Mom, we'll move over here. I'd say there. Shanks is not as good as Big Mom. Big Mom was for a long time I considered to be the best character in the game upon her release. Uh, Absolute miss. Definition of immunity abuse, because all of her skills have invulnerability tied to them. Hera goes through walls, of course, ignores defense, has knockback. Her lightning skill in runner form is like the widest reaching, most ridiculously long-lasting skill in the game where you like completely dodge it and then still get hit by it. Also unreactable. Um, just and she can force out so much. So like she does Hera, you force out the perfect dodge, and then she immediately just does the heavenly balls or whatever, and then the fireball skill, and then you get hit by that because you they have wasted your perfect dodge on a skill that you absolutely have to perfect dodge. And then let's say somehow you manage to dodge all of those, she can just lightning you after that, and then capture the base in front of your face. She charges the base while she's on it, even if you are fighting her on it. She heals when she applies fire, or when she's attacked by enemies afflicted with a flame, and she afflicts a flame on literally everything that she does. Just fully versatile, crazy character. And charges the base to 150% and can capture while you're defending the base. It's just, yeah, was easily the best character in the game upon release. I don't know much about this pudding. I just know that she was bad, but she spawns health for your team to get. So, for that alone, I'll put her like here, I guess. Not a character I care about. I don't care about her accuracy on the tier list, honestly. I've never played with her. I've seen one person play with her in the entire time that I've ever played Bounty Rush. So, I just didn't have the diamonds to pull on her at the time, but I usually try to get every character at least once. Who's great against Straw Hat Pirates, so he's gonna be going up on the tier list now, especially with the rise of like Gear 5 Luffy and stuff. Um, I don't. He's definitely not belonging of S tier. I don't think he has the same like crazy versatility of like Jack and like just raw damage output and healing, but I would say high A, like here with Doflamingo-ish. Uh, just for the damage he does to Straw Hat Pirates, his normals go through walls, his skill 2 goes through walls as well, it does crazy damage. And his skill 1 makes him like unstoppable and he can attack and all that stuff. I just don't think his normals are good enough for him to fight people up close. So like your entire strategy with him is to just sneak your skill 2 and then like sneak into engagements with skill 1. But I think once you get like up close and personal to him, he's not great. Um, and his traits are like limited to straw. They're so tied into Straw Hat Pirates that he doesn't benefit from a lot of them when he's fighting non-Straw Hat Pirates. So this Jinbei is legitimately S tier. I gotta put him up here with like terms of pure defender. His Jinbei is S tier. Um, skill 2, you just can't die, which is nice. You can charge it for about like 8 seconds. Um, If you are on a base that is fully charged, you have knockback immunity, stagger resistance, and status ailment resistance. In addition to being able to tie your skill 2 on top of that, you can like legitimately just sit and stall an entire base and then heal the moment you let it go. It does increase damage to power users. He heals for each hit of the skill 2, which I think is like 5 to 6 hits. Skill 1 does increase damage to power users. Has fantastic damage reduction, just a very tanky character. The only difference between these two, actually no, I would even put him there. Yeah, nah, it's that skill 2 is actually phenomenal, especially if you have traits and like metal stuff that increase the or decrease the cooldown on it, and then you also recharge it when you're being hit by power users on base, so you can legitimately spam it if you're fighting the right people. So we all know where Zoro's going, right there. Just because simply for the fact that he beat Shanks, can fully change his kit depending on, like who he's fighting. If you manage to get the skill 2 off, you do have to be good with Zoro. But absolute menace, super annoying to fight. Um, and you never know when he has skill 2. For some reason, it feels like it's always up at the worst moments. Gets invincibility on the Onigiri. Very fake animation where it'll hit you even before his character is like actually approached you. But Zoro's my favorite character in One Piece, as is true of a lot of people. These two actually are, and but yeah, fantastic character. Very happy to give him the EX. Have to put Kaido in between one of these. So when I said best pure runner in the game, I mean like in terms of just mobility, being a nuisance, dragging the enemies away, etc. Kaido is the best runner in the game for backcapping. Um, if you have Kaidos on the enemy team, especially multiple, you're probably going to lose that match. Just because within the last like 20 seconds of the game, there's gonna be like three Kaidos in your back line just running around capturing and doing whatever they want. Hard to get off base, has immunity in his Razor Wind breath thing, whatever, and great normals, can remove hockey states, etc. The only reason Shanks, even though I do think Kaido has a winning matchup against Shanks in most cases, is that Shanks is his kill potential is just better. Like Kaido's not gonna kill you as fast, even though he can kill you. Shanks can like legitimately just get one good skill two and one shot the entire team. Um, but yeah, no, Kaido's Hyper Kaido is fantastic. Brule is just lost her. Also ended up moving this girl on accident. Where the fuck did I put her? There she goes. Okay. Brule is. Where do we want to put this girl? I don't know. She has a gimmick. Her gimmick is fun. It's not great, but it is fun. Probably like here. Um, doesn't have the versatility as these characters, or the utility of these characters with their shields, but she can. Her gimmick is sending enemies back to spawn and being able to teleport from base to base. If she places a mirror, she can move around the map a lot quicker as a defender because of that. Actually, I have to move her like there for that. Um, Her ability to defend bases that aren't being defended. So if multiple teammates pop up, you can swap places with your mirror and then set a mirror back, and so she can move around the map a lot easier, and then also just being able to offset positions by hitting that counter and then sending people back to their spawn allows your team to can allow your team to win. So I would say A tier. People just don't play with her. Honestly, I don't know this character too much. I'm just gonna put him there. I've seen him played like one or two times, and he was decent. But you can, again, not gonna care about the accuracy for that character. Likewise for this one. I know he's a runner. I know he can move. I know he can do stuff. Uh, and he has shock abilities tied into it, but I wasn't playing the game when he came out, so I didn't bother looking at his kit too much. Crackers, S tier, like I'd say even there. Um, about the same as Ulti, honestly. They do basically the same things. Cracker I think is a little better just because two chances at life. Also that spawnable biscuit soldier heals. Not only does he has 80% reduction, but he also heals when he's applied by or status effects are applied to him, and he also gets an attack buff from that as well. And his skill one is very, very, very strong, very quick, and has good mobility in it. So um, and his normals are a little wider reaching than Uta's, so or ultis. So the fact that he can spam that biscuit soldier and that functions as a shield, also heals him when it's broken, and then fully resets cooldown when it breaks. I just say it has to make him or elevate his character to a higher tier or a little higher than her. This character's fun. I wouldn't say he's good, but he is fun. It's Frankie essentially. It's a one-trick pony. The one trick is build up your punch, get the one shots, and that's it. Like that's your one trick. This character is ass. Just worse Snake Man. Um, we'll throw worse Snake Man there. I don't care about the accuracy on that one. Hakuba's S tier. I hate to like be inconsistent where I'm like, oh, well, these characters are good, but only if you can apply stun, because that's how Hakuba is. But Hakuba's capture potential is the same as Marco's. He's better than Marco. His capture potential is the same as Marco's, where you have to do certain things to get him off once he starts capturing. He captures very quickly. He has great mobility in his skill 2. If you are not stun immune, he absolutely destroys you. Like Big Mom, characters like that get absolutely fucked. Um, And I think that's what puts him in S tier is his kill potential for characters that aren't stun immune is absolutely insane, and he also gets a like massive healing off of it and skill one cooldown reduction, and while also having the same like pure capture potential of like Marco and Odin and things like that. The reason he's lower than Odin, even though I like him more, is that Odin's kill potential is not tied into being able to stun characters, whereas Hakuba's is. So yeah, it's that. Don Chinjiao is good. Um, I'm just gonna put him here. He came out with Hakuba. I haven't fully tapped into the potential of this character, so it's hard for me to gauge. But I know he has a durability shield as a defender, has good defense, has knockback, like good knockback, ways to restore the durability shield, and then also to heal. So I'm just gonna put him in S tier for now. I'll probably just put him over here with Hakuba, but I can come back and correct that at some point. Robin, I don't really want to put an S tier, but I kind of want to. I would say A tier. What are the characters? I have an A tier, so I'm looking for like my attacker in A tier, right? And it's like Doflamingo. I think Robin is better. She does way more against runners like King, things like that. Um, uh, any runner in the game, even like Kaido, shit like that. She just does more for your team to prevent them. So she is the preventative for like certain like back cap for like full runner teams because she does like crazy increased damage to them. She has massive range on her skill that comes from the ground. She takes like 70% reduced damage on the other skill where she spawns the giant version of her and it's doing the slaps, and then the knockback does great damage on that. It um, heals her for every single hit, reduces the enemy cooldown per hit. The more I'm saying, the more I'm like, no, this is for sure S tier. If I'm gonna put like Jack or something here, then I gotta put Robin up in S tier for that same reason. Just for what she does for your team against runners, I have to put her there. But Brooke, we going up to S tier too. If I gotta put Jinbei and shit in here, then I have to put Brooke in here. I'd say this Brooke is better than Roger. I'd say it's better than yeah. Not as good as Kaido, only because Kaido can charge to 150, but this Brook is virtually unkillable. I've gone on like a 10 win streak in like high SS, just having Brook as my front character and never dying with Brook. I've had games where I haven't lost more than like 10 HP. Um, like if you get on a fully charged base with Brook, getting him off of that base is nearly impossible. And he can fight so many characters. Like the Shanks has a tremendously hard time. He nullifies Uta's kit since he can't be affected by status ailments. He can't get knocked down or he can't get knocked back, so he just sends out the Spectral Ghost, does 30% damage, and freezes, heals every time he freezes, increases his defense. Just nullifies so much of these kits that uh, but this is on base. When you're not on base, not as good. And that's his downfall. But he does have a very good counter as well. Does good damage. This character is just gonna put there because he's dog shit. This Yamato's like S tier, but I gotta figure out where. It says an attacker, she's better than Robin or Roger. Probably like there. I don't know. I'd even be okay with putting her lower, but probably like there. Frostbite's very annoying for characters that can't kill her quickly. Can't one-shot her. But since a lot of characters are immune to status effects under certain conditions, if she can't apply Frostbite, she's really not doing much of anything. And that's why she, even though it was an EX, and like one of the more recent EXs, is just falling short in terms of like her attacker capabilities, just because she doesn't do a ton. It's not like pure damage. It's all tied into her Frostbite damage, um, which is a crazy good status ailment if you know it's applied to you. So, but I would just have to say S tier for that. I don't see a lot of Yamato's doing super well. She's fallen off fairly quickly after release, and once you rob her of her durability shield, I mean, she's just squishy. She loses to Shanks, and anyone that just like outright loses to Shanks just struggles. And yeah, this Nami is S tier. Same reasons as Parasparrow. Um, very easily applied shock, gets attack boost off of it. Um, and her cloud goes through walls. She can control Zeus from a mile away and just leave you in a constant like lock chain. I think she goes invisible on perfect dodge as well. But she does a ton. Again, this is all tied into being able to apply shock. But if Parasparrow is an S tier for his ability to apply Candyman to anything, then for that same reason, then Nami is just the same character. But I just think she does it a little easier, way less risky, and she gets more attack benefit from it. So yeah. I didn't honestly look into this Usopp too much. I just know he's a better version of that other shitty Usopp that I put in this. Yeah, I know he's a better version of this one he runs, and sleep is better than the other thing. So I'm just gonna throw him up in A tier. We'll put him there, sure. Uh, honestly, did not play the game when this character was released either, so I'm sure he does some good stuff. Just gonna throw him up here next to Brule, but in terms of accuracy, I wouldn't know. I don't particularly care, but I can come back and adjust it later if somebody wants to correct me on that. Now, so I have Vanderdecken. Again, same thing. Character. Didn't know him too well. Didn't pay attention to it. I know he has a tracking attack that if he shoots it and like fucking follows an enemy until it hits or something. So same reasons as I'm putting him there. I wasn't playing the game, so didn't bother looking into their traits because I don't own either of them yet. But Caribou, I'm very close. Once I unlock Vanderdecken, I'll come back and adjust it, or like leave a comment or something saying like where I would legitimately place him. But yeah, Hody Jones, I know is S tier. I haven't personally played this. My brother plays him quite often though. And I've seen him played. I did read his kit, so I do know that he's S tier. I plan on like going and watching like an OP Mamba video or something or a Soul video, somebody playing Hody Jones to see exactly where he lands on the tier list and like how his kit interacts with the current meta. But I do know he's S tier, so I'm just gonna throw him next to Hakuba for now. Um, this guy I haven't seen played at all. I mean, so. I'm just gonna assume that he's good. Throw him in Frankie, and said this is coming on the part where I wasn't really playing the game, or I was playing the game during the release of these two, but I also knew that Gear 5 Luffy was coming out, so I didn't bother summoning because I was just holding diamonds, and so I didn't want to read traits and shit because I have a bad habit of just summoning to have characters um, that I think would be fun to play with. Because I don't do the EX abuse. I actually don't play with EX units nearly at all. Um, so like having Bounty Fest characters that I think would be fun would have just been dangerous because I did want Gear 5 Luffy, but I wanted Gear 5 Luffy for me wanting Gear 5 Luffy. Now I don't even play with him because he's in every single match and is the most annoying character in the game. This Uta is S tier for sure. I'm gonna throw up here with Brook. I think Brook is better, but um, very good. Has all of the annoyance of this Uta in terms of their benefits from the Sing, and the application of it is even easier. Her downfall is that she's not nearly as mobile as this one. On base, she is very good. She has a good counter, and her summon entity um, is very annoying as well. But if you're immune to status effects, then she's losing that benefit, and she's not that hard to kill as a defender. Um, Whereas this Uta heals, uh, well, I mean this Uta heals too, but let's say you can't apply status effect. This Uta can still one-shot you with her skill too. This Uta can't really do anything but stall base, but she can't even stall base well enough to like prevent like a Kid or Law or like Gear 5 Luffy from taking it from her. So, all right, and now finally we get in the SS tier. We're gonna throw both of those up there because we already knew that was coming. These are the two best characters in the game. Um, this is the order. This is the best character in the game. This is the second best character in the game. Talking about Kid and Law first, since I have them up here first. Kid and Law are absolutely crazy in terms of runner. I don't know why they're both runners. I feel like one should be a runner and one should be like a defender or an attacker. Um, if I had to take my pick, I'd probably say like yeah, Kid attacker and Law maybe even defender, but runner's fine. But Law as a runner is immune to status effects. They can both capture base while the enemy is still on it, like that Big Mom, but they don't have to like change forms to do it. They can just do it as either character. They are two characters, so they both have separate health bars, and you have to kill one to stop it. But usually that means when one gets low, they just swap to the other one, and then you have to kill them again. Um, and then they can get the health back for both characters through their traits. And Law applies status effect, has a teleport, very fast acting teleport, has a knockback, captures very easily, decent normals, and it's fully immune to status effects, which is very annoying. Um, Especially when trying to get him off base, because the only way to get him off base is to knock him down. They have stackable defense buffs, and their defense is crazy high, so you end up doing no damage. So getting them off base is especially hard, especially if you don't have knockbacks, because your only options are kill them or knock them back off of it. Kid is even more annoying because he takes away your dodge, has long range skills, multi hits, um, a very quick knockback skill that helps you knock other enemies off base or knock them away from you so that you can capture base. And then he can just steal your dodge, and to a true combo, he can tap normals once, fully take away your dodge, and then do uh, the other skill that completely ignores defense and shits on most characters in the game. Like even Gear 5 Luffy has a hard time with that if he's not abusing like immunity. So uh, phenomenal character. Fully versatile, can act as an attacker, defender, or runner. Whatever they want to do, they will do. And it is very hard to play against them with most characters. So for that reason alone, especially being two characters tied into one, so you never know. And their normals are great, and they can also swap like at the fucking drop of a dime. So all of that definitely makes them second best character in the game. I would have said best character in the game if not for the recent addition of Gear 5 Luffy. Gear 5 Luffy. Oh boy, where do we start? Let's just go through his kit real quick, right? Oh, let me see if I can actually pull this up. Bounty Rush, Gear 5 Luffy. Traits. Hmm. Without going to like the Bounty Rush Twitter, I'm not gonna find it. So we can just talk about him. I honestly know most of them off memory. So he can swap between runner, defender, and attacker at the drop of a dime. Really, just depends on the situation. So if he's on base defending, he's a defender, and he gets all of his defender traits. If he is capturing a base, he becomes a runner, and he gets his runner traits, and then he gets the capture abilities of like Odin and shit, where you have to knock him off because he's going to be fully immune to status effects. Um, if he's an attacker, so if you're fighting another enemy on their base, you get your attacker benefits that help you kill them quicker. Your giant ass punch, I don't know the actual names of that one. The giant ass punch sends out a shockwave that goes through walls, has the fakest fucking hitbox, and active startup in the game because the damage is issued before the animation is active. So you can't perfect dodge it or do it on reaction because when Luffy disappears, the damage is already rolled out, which also ignores defense and damage reduction. So you take massive damage from it. Regardless, and the shockwave hits through walls, so a lot of times you can't even see it, and the shockwave is invisible, so a lot of times people get hit by the shockwave without seeing the attack itself. Very stupid. Not only does that go through walls, but so does his lightning throw. And so you have to constantly be on the lookout for that, but sometimes, you can't see. And a lot of times, Gear 5 Luffy's will hit you on accident, just aiming for other players, and you're just like in a completely separate room, but behind the wall. So that shit hits you. He's also fully invulnerable during both of those. After the punch goes off, it changes to stomp immediately, and the stomp does the same thing. It doesn't go through walls, has a shorter range, but it does ignore defense, so it allows you to fight other Gear 5 Luffy's on base, and constantly ignore their defense or whatever. Uh, and this is why I was ranking characters with the ignore defense trait on their skills so highly, is because that character has the like second highest defense stat in the entire game, next to like Sentomaru. It could be even tied, and he gets a stackable defense buff from knocking enemies back, which he does with every single thing that he does. And he also heals off of that, and then he also gets a counter tied to his normals, where if you tap your normal and hold it, it becomes a counter, which is immediately active the moment your counter animation starts up. And the first hit of your normal is very fast acting. And the knockback is applied almost immediately, like even before the animation of your counter going off. And yeah, it's just he's impossible to kill, man. That's as simple as that. That's what it boils down to. He's nearly impossible to kill unless your character has ignore defense, or if you're like you have him off base and your team is currently like attack buffed or something. But it takes so much work, especially if there are multiple. Where if like multiple Gear 5 Luffy's are holding bases, your team probably just lost. Um, Easily best character in the game. Very annoying to play with. Like I said, I own him, but I'm like so disgusted with him that I genuinely don't play him. I played him for the first like day that I bought him, and that was it. So, um, but yeah, this is the my fully comprehensive Bounty Rush tier list. Um, Again, this is all opinion based, so if you have disagreements, I completely understand. Feel free to comment below. Let me know where you would play certain characters, what you agree, what you disagree with, and yeah, um, see you guys around.